This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
What? Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily for a Friday afternoon in December. The Winnipeg Jets are in free fall. And it hasn't stopped. If you hope that things would be turning around on this homestand with some big-time opponents coming in, and the Dallas Stars, and with a better performance last week, might that lead to a better result and a better game last night against the Boston Bruins? For Winnipeg Jet fans, the answer to that is a resounding, unfortunately not. A 6-3 loss last night, in a performance that had a few moments, but for the most part was just another dull, lethargic performance from a team that has completely lost its identity and is searching for answers. And the Winnipeg Jets now, as this free fall has continued, now find themselves in the company of the Nashville Predators, the Calgary Flames, and the Vancouver Canucks near the bottom of the NHL standings. And, I mean, listen, we're going to be talking about Connor Hellebuyck and hopefully an early return for him. But as much as we want to talk about goaltending, which I do think was a part of the equation last night, I'm not sure that the reemergence of Connor Hellebuyck, unless it comes with essentially a lobotomy for the entire team, changes things around. And, you know, we're getting into, I think we're past a critical point for the organization for this season and for management on what to do. We're going to be kicking it around. We'll go through last night's game. We will hear from you. I'm sure fan feedback for Fans First will be crazy because, I mean, I can tell you my inbox, the text messages I'm getting, the conversations I'm having last night at the game and afterwards. It is a dark time for Jet fans, and it's harder to handle right now because of the legitimate expectations this team had after what they were able to accomplish last year. Listen, the offseason has been an unmitigated disaster, and it is playing out right now. Gustav Nyquist got back into the lineup after sitting out for the first time and saying he wasn't too pleased not to play. Takes an offensive zone penalty that leads to a goal. I mean, that was not money well spent. I mean, unfortunately, the story with Jonathan Toews was great. That, to say the least, has not worked. And, the other players, I've got some time for Cole Koepke, to be honest. He played against his old team last night and had a few moments, but it's a mess. And, one of the best teams in the NHL coming to town tomorrow night in the Washington Capitals. An unfortunate, bit of a black cloud around the team for what should be a pretty happy event for Nino Niederreiter, who's playing his 1,000th game tomorrow. But Nino, like the rest of the clubs, because I was struggling and in the skids right now. Murat Ates is going to join us. Looking forward to some hard truths with Murat about where the Winnipeg Jets sit coming up a little bit. We'll also have Connor join us for a few minutes. He's down at the rink today. Jets had a later practice today, 12 noon. Hellebuyck was in the home net, which was interesting to note. I think I might get one on my buddy Ken for our conversations as to when Hellebuyck would play. With what's going on, and he apparently seems to be ready to go, how do you not play him as soon as possible? But again, it's a hell of a lot more than the goaltending, that's for sure. Listen, we'll have all of this coming up a little later on after we really dive in and focus on the Jets for the majority of the first hour plus. We will talk about some of the big stories around the National Hockey League. Stephen Whyno will join us from the AP. Trade today between the Edmonton Oilers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Stuart Skinner is out. Tristan Jarry's in. Some other pieces. We'll dive into that. He was at the Devils game last night. How big of a conversation was Quinn Hughes' future around the Prudential Center, especially in advance of the Canucks coming to Jersey on the weekend, and of course the latest on the Olympics. So we'll get to all of that with Whyno. We'll touch base with Hacksaw in the National Football League in the last half hour of the program. We'll get to the cool bet lines, and we will do marbles, and then get on with the weekend. Great to have you all with us. Just before we bring in Michael Remis, I want to thank all the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet, the Winnipeg Jets, of course, tomorrow, 6 p.m., Monday, against the Ottawa Senators as well on this homestand. The gang at Princess Auto, Clean Line, had a great time with the Clean Line folks at the game last night, everything outside of the result. Chud's Power Sports, Uptown Alley, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center, Rolly's Transfer, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Royal Sports. We'll get to a Why Not question of the day for not AutoCorp, but Waverly and McGillivray. And we will fire up fan feedback for fansfirst.ca. I have a feeling that it's already popping in the YouTube chat right now. Welcome to everyone that is with us on YouTube live this afternoon. And shout out to all you podcast listeners getting your daily dose of WST. Let's get Michael Remis in here and get this show on the road. Remo, it's just getting worse, man. It's just getting worse. And I know many of us, starting with Coach Scott Arneal, liked the way the team played on Tuesday. This was better. That looked more like the Winnipeg Jets. We got a team last night that just didn't have answers for a Boston Bruins team that came in and made the most of what seemed like a million grade A scoring chances and put up another half dozen on the home team.
Yeah, you're looking through the numbers, Huss. 5 wins in their last 18, 2-8-1 since Connor Hellebuyck went on IR. Connor Rabchak putting out some numbers there. I mean, they're 6-12-1 since the start of November. That's tied for 32nd in the league in that same time frame. 26th in goals for, 25th in goals against, minus 16 goal differential, 28th. Team save percentage, 29th. Penalty kill, 66%. And we saw them allow a power play goal for the 7th straight game. And there were
PK.
two of them. There were two of them yesterday. And those penalties, the first two, you get up 1-0. And you mentioned the Nyquist penalty, offensive zone, tripping behind the net. Barron, trying to get in there a little too hard with the bear hug, hauled his man down. And those are the ones they capitalize on. And the Jets power play, they did score a power play goal, but their power play league best last year, now 22nd since the start of November. And you can go scoring chances allowed 26. So they're near the bottom, if not in the bottom third of significant categories since the start of November. It's not going well, and you're waiting for the Jets to snap out of this and turn back into the President's Trophy winning team from last year. Doesn't seem like
President's Trophy.
We're just trying to win a game here. They're on a 3-game losing streak. It's not going well, Huss. And I think we're starting to come to the realization. Last season was so great, but they're far, far away from playing that type of game that made them so well. And they don't. They're missing some key players to help them do that.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, the roster is just not, not anything what they thought it would be coming out of training camp. Unfortunately, they've been given this group plenty of time, plenty of opportunities to snap out of it, switch up some guys, and we can talk about switching Connor and Scheifele. I get it that that's been such a big topic because it seemed like it's the last and only thing that they haven't done. But, I'm here to tell you right now that they can do that. Maybe it helps in some ways, but the problems that are plaguing this team are so much more than one lineup change or one line breakup away from turning around. Now, I will say this, they haven't been getting, like, I thought Eric Comrie was great in those 2 games last week. Those are the points that the team has in like the last 2.5 weeks. The single in Montreal and the win against the Buffalo Sabres. And he was a big part of both of those. And it had to be. And that's basically been the case. I mean, you basically needed your backup goalie to come in and play really, really well if you want to get any sort of points. And when it is an average or below average performance and you get a couple in, there's just been no answer. And this isn't like a bones, lack of pushback situation where you have a team that just didn't want to, pay the price that they needed to go up against a team like Vegas in the playoffs. And we have that. This is a team that is just seemingly rudderless right now. A lot of great players that have done really good things in this uniform before, even at times early this season, just shadows or shells of themselves. And I mean, last night's a perfect example, Remo. I mean, if you don't have Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, that are the guys that, have been there throughout the year, both having really strong seasons offensively, if they are not just playing well and carrying the play, but scoring multiple goals, it's tough to do it. Now, was it nice to see Alex Iafallo get one? Absolutely. Morgan Barron had been a long time. He got one early on. But you would think that early on, certainly the Barron goal might have really pushed the team forward. What we saw was the opposite. We saw some of the most porous defense, lack of defensive coverage, inexcusable opportunities handed over the Boston Bruins way. And unfortunately for the Jets, Connor Hellebuyck wasn't there to play Superman. It was Eric Comrie, who, unfortunately, we've been spoiled here, is a mere mortal and is a hell of a dude. On an average or below to average team, he's probably going to have some pretty ugly numbers, and that's exactly where we're at right now. So, as I say, we're going to get into this more with Murat a little bit later on. But I have to admit, it felt like, that Edmonton game was a real rock bottom performance, but it was sort of expected. The worst one I kind of thought was the road game in Buffalo. What was it, a couple Mondays ago? But the one last night, with the stakes as they are, having fallen to 500 for the season and to lose again in regulation in a game that you got up early and then we're almost immediately down 3-1 is, tell you what, I know the way fans are feeling right now, and I can't imagine the stress levels inside of the front offices of the Winnipeg Jets right now, because you can have a mantra of patience and you can say, this is the way we've done it, before. This season is slipping away. And I know some people will say that the season's basically toast. I don't know whether I go that far, but unless you do a significant 180 immediately. I was joking about fooling around with the draft lottery simulator for the last 2 months of the season. I hate to say it, that is what would be happening. And I'll tell you what, if the team was in the East right now, we know how tough the Central Division is, but the wild card threshold is way lower in the West. If it was in the East, it would almost be done right now. So, I don't know, man. It was... I knew we'd sort of get into it and just fire up the mics right now. The feedback you're hearing from everyone, the feedback in the chat right now is that of, we often joke about the panic. This isn't a joke anymore. The play of this hockey club over the course of the last month and a half is panic-inducing, and it could flatline any hopes of being a playoff team if this doesn't change very soon. And I'll be honest, I'm not seeing very many signs that that's going to be the case.
Put out the poll right now to the chat, Huss. How worried are you about the Jets right now? 52 votes in. I just posted it like less than a minute ago. 50% in full panic mode. 42% very concerned. I thought full panic was going to be a bit higher. So 50%. 50% is not bad. But you look at the standings, I guess if you want to go glass half full, glass half empty, half empty, they're, a couple points out of last. They're just ahead of Nashville, Calgary, Vancouver for the bottom. Fire up the draft lottery simulator. Or you want to look at the other side. Hey, they're only a couple points out of San Jose. Go on a win streak. Connor Hellebuyck's coming back, steals you a couple games. But Connor Hellebuyck isn't really going to mask, a lot of the errors or a lot of the issues with this team, like secondary scoring, like poor defensive play. The Jets up 1-0. You thought you were going to see this forecheck. It wasn't there. Instead, they took the 2 penalties and gave it right back to Boston. I thought they had chances early in the third. They really needed a power play goal here at the opportunity when they were down 4-2, and they got it. Cole Perfetti, it was nice to see him get on the board on the score sheet, taking it to the net, and Velarde banging it in 4-3. Thought, okay, here's the time where you saw so many times last year, third period comebacks. It was not there. Instead, you saw major defensive lapses, getting Elias Lindholm all alone in front and putting the dagger in. And, Pasternak tried to get Morgan Geekie, the empty netter, to score in front of so many fans out there in Geekie Bruins jerseys, but he ended up having to take it himself to make it 6-3. And as you said, this top line needs to score, 3 goals a night. They're giving up too many, not scoring enough. The stats all reflect that, and they have been one of the worst teams in the NHL since the start of November. Not a recipe for success.
No, if something doesn't change soon, as I said, you want to talk about a 180. I mean, a 180 from being the number 1 team in the National Hockey League and then following that up the next season, I've had some people come up to me, and I have laughed at this notion for a long time. Oh, yeah, you just got to embrace the tank. And I'm like, they've signed Connor Hellebuyck, Mark Scheifele, Kyle Connor, Gabe Velarde. Morrissey's still got term. Like, that's your core. A team with that core is too good to be where they are. Well, that's where they are right now. I mean, there's no denying it. Now, granted, a good portion of this has been without Hellebuyck, and he's certainly proven that he was the MVP of the National Hockey League by being out for the past month. And even if you get this guy back right now, there is so much more, and you sort of mentioned, I mean, whether it is the lack of speed the team's showing, their ability to get on pucks, their ability to forecheck, do things in the offensive zone that, made them a great team last year. That hasn't been. The defensive coverage and the fall off in that has been so significant. That in alone, outside of the secondary scoring, that might be the thing that is the most concerning to the coaching staff. You've got new players that have done nothing. You've got players from last year's team that are woefully underperforming. You've got a couple of star players that are playing together and doing great things most nights, but it's not enough. And then you dive into special teams, and you sort of laid those numbers out. Not only on the wrong end of it, or not being able to count on the power play or the PK to give you a big moment in a game and some energy and life for a club. Absolutely killing them. And the last couple of games have been perfect examples. The combination of bad penalties and not being able to kill them equals losses. And we're getting served those up on a nightly basis, it seems, right now. Here are the numbers. This is since the start of November. We had the nice little honeymoon. Team wasn't playing very, very well in October, but hey, whatever, they're winning. Here's what's happened since the start of November. Tied for the worst record in the league at 6-12-1. 26th in goals for per game, 2.68. 25th in goals against per game. That goal differential that looked so good at the start of the year, that's evaporated, minus 16, as Remis just said. 882 team save percentage. Much of that without Hellebuyck, but, that's all part of the body of work. The PK, just getting torched. 1 out of every 3 times, more than that. 34% the other way, they're scoring. 66% success. And the power play now can't be counted on either. And that's really taken some energy out of the club and hasn't been there in big moments. The few that they've had in close games lately, the power play hasn't done. If you want expected goals per 60, 5-on-5, 28th. And the high danger chances against per 60 minutes, 26th in the league. Connor got all these from Natural Stat Trick. I mean, it's, sometimes in these times, you kind of rely on what you're doing well or what your key is. Right now, Remis, without Connor Hellebuyck in this lineup, I mean, if we're not talking about Scheifele and Connor, there is not much else to talk about right now. And listen, I think Josh Morrissey's had a great season, has been very, very good. But, man, the load that he's carrying right now for this team, played over 26 minutes last night. I think it's wearing on him, like not only in an individual game, but just how much he's playing. It's taking a toll on a lot of people right now. And, I know the fans are freaking out, and I totally get it. But as I say, I mean, I think there is, legitimate similar reactions going on right now. And I don't know how much longer the Winnipeg Jets can, quote unquote, stay the course and expect this group to turn it around without some significant changes. We're going to be talking about it throughout the show today. Again, why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? The poll is up in the chat. How worried are you about the plight of the Jets right now? Your options are full panic, very concerned, frustrated but not panicking, and it'll turn around. And I can tell you that less than 10% are in the latter two. A combination of very concerned fans and fans in full panic mode, Remis. And I can't say I expected any difference after sitting through that one last night.
I thought full panic was going to be like 70, 80% after that, but I'll give credit to the listeners out there for, who are still very concerned. We do have to mention a bright spot on defense. Dylan Sandberg last night, he had one of his best games, if not the best of the year. Anytime anyone goes near him, he comes out with that stick and pokes the puck away, out of danger so many times. When he was on the ice, shot attempts, Huss, were 32-4, only 8 against. Really impressive stuff. But one thing,
which is nuts to me. So how bad were they when he was off the ice?
You look at the deserved, the Whyno meter. Like the Jets controlled play for stretches, but when you take penalties and when you have, gaffes like Corrali all alone in front, not once but twice. And I think the second one was Morrissey and Stanley just went up the same side of the boards hoping for a breakout. Puck doesn't get out. And the other ones, it squirts out. So I'd have to look deeper in. But Sandberg, really impressive game yesterday. Cole Koepke, revenge game for him. That speed was looking good. But they just have these lapses where, make a mistake and you get scored on. And I do want to mention as well, I see a lot of stuff in the chat, tweets like, call up the kids, call up Lambert. These guys, there's no savior out there in the AHL that is going to come and help turn this around. Could it help a little? But you look at the Jets prospects, they don't really have any top prospects out there who's going to come in and make an impact. As far as, make trades, what's this team going to do at the deadline? What pending UFA do they have, like Andrew Kopp a couple of years ago, that you could get a return for?
Can I interest you in a Tanner Pearson? A Gustav Nyquist?
There isn't one. There isn't one. So, are you going to trade someone who you just signed in an Alex Iafallo? You're going to trade Nito Niederreiter, Nemeskov? I don't know how much value those guys have. So I think they're in a really, really tough spot here, Huss, in terms of trying to turn this around quickly. I just want to weigh that in.
All right, listen, we're going to get to, Coach Arneal in a minute, but I mean, right off the bat, I knew that there would be a lot. Let's just get right into fan feedback for fans first. Your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. No added fees ever. Let's see. Pomerland. A lot of us saw this happening this summer when they replaced Ehlers and Appleton with the likes of Taves, Nyquist, and Pearson. The team got older and slower in a league becoming younger and faster. Comet. The core deserves a championship will with the right mix around them. It was close last year. Let's see. PLD in the chat. Tristan Rivers Music. Helly will win the heart again this year simply because you see what happens when he's not there. The Barflies. Sit everyone Chevy at it and play what you have on the farm. Yes, a PLD troll job in the chat. Well done. And then Parmaline saying, all the talk about how young kids would get a real opportunity was just lip service. And here's one from Snuka. Perfetti has no one to play with. Get someone who has offensive instincts to play on his line. Listen, there's some real holes in this lineup right now. And I mean, when we talk about the young players, and I know this was kicked around on the, IC and KNR last night, like, okay, we'll just, wave a couple guys, call some guys up. Listen, for the record, I have no issue with that. Like, I know Ken said, well, what does that do to, your ability to sign free agents in the future if people see that you sign guys and then waive them? I mean, it's still pro sports. I mean, if you're just an anchor for your new team doing nothing positive and the team is losing, I'm sorry, you got to make moves. You got to do something like that. Like, I think people understand the expectations of professional players and what teams have to do when they're consistently losing and players aren't getting it done. So listen, there's a bunch of replaceable guys right now in the lineup that not only are not net positives, but probably pretty significant negatives. Now, did Brad Lambert or did Chibrikov or even Parker Ford after the first couple games play so well that it was impossible to send them down? Like, these guys are our best players? Probably not. But now that we've seen where we're at right now, sometimes you get opportunities because you've been playing so well. Sometimes you get opportunities because guys get hurt, or this situation where there's a bunch of guys not doing a damn thing and you have to do something different. Like, Brad Lambert has 1 goal in 11 games with the Moose. Is he tearing it up? No. But I'll tell you what, that speed sure would be a nice addition to the to the team. Parker Ford plays with a lot of bite to his game. I mean, we've talked about Chibrikov. Maybe it's some guys that we haven't seen. Oh, maybe it's a couple of these guys like a Figemo or a DiGiuseppe or Walker Dewar. I mean, the energy of some guys getting that opportunity, I think, would be a good thing for this team. And again, I don't worry about long-term repercussions. I mean, if you're not cutting in the National Hockey League, there's probably not a taker for these players in these contracts right now. Sometimes you got to cut bait and see what else you can do. That being said, we did have a big trade made today, and this took about a week to happen. Kyle Dubas and Stan Bowman, kind of goalie for goalie, some other pieces in. We'll talk about it in Whyno before. Maybe there's some sort of shifting of the deck chairs. But to Remis's point about who are you going to call up, it is a difficult scenario right now for the Winnipeg Jets. Listen, I know we've gotten a little long. Let's quickly hear from Scott Arneal. Connor's going to join us in a couple minutes. Here's what Arnie had to say. If you missed it after the game, not pleased with what happened with this hockey club in the 6-3 loss.
What concerned you most about the way the game turned in the first period?
2 penalty kill. 2 goals on penalty kill. Not good enough.
How about 2 offensive zone minors too? Is that?
Yeah, we see that. You can put that on top of it. 200 feet from your net, 2 stick infractions. So when you get a lead, that's not obviously what you want to give them an opportunity like that. Sure.
Gabe Velarde sort of mentioned that he feels like every mistake you're making is ending up in the back of the net. How do you kind of stop that and get it turned the other way?
We'll review it. We'll talk about it until we go out and, on the ice, pay attention to the detailed part of the game. That way, those things are going to happen. There was more grade A's given up tonight than we've given up in a while. So, a little disappointing coming off what we had talked about after the Dallas game.
pretty disappointed. And we've heard that tone from Arneal before this season, and I get it. There was a lot of people that felt that way walking out of the building last night. This wasn't a full 60-minute garbage performance. I mean, they scored early. They had a couple moments. We mentioned the goal from Iafallo, which was nice. Gabe Vilardi, Cole Perfetti taking it to the net. But overall, commitment to team play and what you need to do against a good team like Boston just simply wasn't there enough. Here's what Arnie had to say about the Jets looking good for a period and then having complete breakdowns that end up in the back of the net.
Yeah, it seems like that whole game went in spurts. Got off to a good start. Got behind the 8 ball real quick, and then we got some real big momentum there at the end of the first. We got back into the game to make it 3-2. Then thought there were stretches of the second where, we'd all of a sudden there would be 2-3 shifts in a row, and then we'd go down on our end and give up a couple of glorious opportunities against. And it was just the inconsistency of kind of building off of, good parts of the game. And there were stretches there where we'd go, 2 or 3 minutes where we gave up grade A opportunities. So, just got to keep hammering it home here. The moments, there's stress within the game, and you got to be able to handle the stress. And I'm not talking about the mental stress; it's the pressure that builds. And that's just part of as a pro hockey player. You got to be ready for those moments, and be able to handle them better than we are right now.
Hey, folks, with the holidays here, many of you are looking to gather with friends and family, people coming in from out of town. Maybe you're getting together for something fun with people from the office. Why don't you head down to Uptown Alley in 1301 St. Matthews and take advantage of all the amazing options for fun that Todd, Nate, and the gang have waiting for you down at Uptown Alley. 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, laser tag, an incredible arcade. Now, those fun carnival games where you can win prizes, win tickets to exchange for great prizes. And what a lot of people don't know is the incredible food and beverage options waiting for you at Uptown Alley. Now, listen, if you want to plan a party or an event, just give them a call at 488-0000. For group and corporate events, just pick your activities, pick your meal and what you want to eat, any add-ons, and their events team will help together put to a schedule and take care of everything else. They're also the best place if you are planning birthday parties for kids, teens, or adults. They've got the Bowl and Play special, the daily deal after 9 p.m. every day. And, of course, they've also got gift cards, which the gift of fun is always perfect for the stocking or under the tree. So while you get ready to cross off everything on that Christmas list, not only pop down to take advantage of the good times at Uptown Alley, but give the gift of good times with Uptown Alley gift cards this Christmas. They're waiting for you at 1301 St. Matthews Avenue and online at uptownalley.ca. If you're moving into 2026, our friends at Rolly's Transfer would love to help you take as much of the stress out of the moving experience as possible. We all know what that can be like. Rolly's, family owned and operated, and the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Check them out online at rollies.com, and in the top right corner, click on Request an Estimate. Put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. Then simply let them know when and where you're planning on moving, what needs to go. They'll turn it around with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that Rolly's Transfer has been famous for. Now into their 7th decade. For all your moving needs, lean on the most trusted name in the game, Rolly's Transfer. Find out more, request an estimate today over at rollies.com. If you do need your grill worked on, Dr. Terry and the great people at St. Vital Dental Center have been getting rave reviews from WSTers that have popped in there. Now, St. Vital Dental Center has been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans, and now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building, serving clients from 6 months to 99 plus with a full array of dental services from cleanings and checkups all the way to things like dental implants. They can do it all. Find out more online, make an appointment, pop in and see Dr. Terry and the gang at St. Vital Dental Center online at stvitaldental.ca. and make sure to tell them that you're ready for the marble race on Friday afternoon, and the boys at Winnipeg Sports Talk sent you. And just before we head down to Dallas, as we mentioned, there's lots of planning for the holidays coming up over the next little bit. I'm certain that many of you will be popping into your local Manitoba liquor marts. When you do, check out the Canadian Club display. We're going to get to the Bomber schedule and look ahead to next season. There still is a few limited quantities of those Blue Bomber. It's limited edition label bottles, which is a great gift for a Blue Bomber fan or just for entertaining in and around the holidays. And while you're talking Canadian Club at the holidays, make sure to keep your eyes out for the limited edition Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale. Right now, in stores and on shelves for the holidays, the great taste of Canada's iconic Canadian whiskey, along with cranberry and ginger ale, pre-mixed cocktails in cans. You can pick it up in 4-packs or 473 milliliter cans at your local Manitoba liquor marts or beer vendors, and then simply crack it, pour over ice, and enjoy. Happy holidays from Canadian Club, and reminder to all of you to do it safely and to never drink and drive. 10:15 or so. Let's head down to the rink right now with our own Connor Rabchak, who's there post a later practice today. Connor, I imagine this was far from an upbeat atmosphere around the club today. What was it like down at Canada Life Center for the practice?
Yeah, Huss, coming off of last night where, obviously another loss, not very upbeat. It was a little bit more upbeat today because, there's the Nino Niederreiter 1000th game tomorrow. So we spoke to Josh Morrissey. We spoke to Nino Niederreiter. Nino Niederreiter had some of his Swiss buddies all around this rink ready for tomorrow's game. But on the actual hockey that is happening as of late, yeah, not very high spirits. I can say, Connor Hellebuyck was in the starter's net and it was a practice. So not quite, a morning skate starter's net. So we'll see if he ends up playing tomorrow or in the near future. But he took every single shot, every single rep, looked like a full participant in practice to me. And Scott Arneal said after the skate that he's getting closer and wouldn't commit one way or another to whether or not Connor Hellebuyck is an option for tomorrow night. So I know some people in chat are probably looking for some glimmers of hope. And, Connor Hellebuyck is obviously the reigning Hart Trophy winner. So he'll be a big boost when he comes back. But it looks like that'll be soon. And Scott Arneal said they're taking it day by day here.
It was in the chat. I think it was Tristan Rivers that said, Helly might win the Hart again this year for what happened when he wasn't in the lineup. And listen, I kind of said, we can talk about the goaltending, and it has been an issue at times during his time out. There's no doubt that there's a big drop-off between Hellebuyck and anybody else the Jets have at their disposal to play. But Connor, there is so much more going on with this team. This is not the same team playing the same way that's just, not getting the saves. They're not getting as many saves, but there is not a lot happening on the other side. And, for a start that they had yesterday, Barron gets the team up early. It was once again bad penalties, particularly in bad places, and the inability to kill them that Scott Arneal talked about afterwards. And, we went through some of the numbers that you threw out earlier on today on the program. We can talk all we want about subpar play at 5-on-5, and that's a big part of it. Special teams right now are killing this hockey club, and that's been a strength of theirs for the last number of years.
Yeah, and you could sense the frustration last night, Huss. You just played the clip there from Scott Arneal. He's not happy with this penalty kill, and you look at the penalties that they took. Gustav Nyquist, healthy scratch, first time in his career he's going through that. Well, he starts the game with an offensive zone tripping penalty below Boston's goal line, and then Morgan Barron, who I thought had a great game last night, got my hardest working Jet on the post-game reaction, but still an offensive zone penalty that just they really didn't need to take. And you've got the numbers up on the screen here. Yeah, since the start of November, 32nd in record. You could talk about the goaltending all you want. They're 26th, that says, in goals. The goal differential, not pretty. The team save percentage, not great. Connor Hellebuyck's been out for a few weeks of that as well. The penalty kill, everyone always says your goalie has to be your best penalty killer, but the penalty kill has been giving up cross-crease one-timers like we saw last night as well. Hellebuyck's awesome. He'll save some of those, but those are just chances that Scott Arneal is not happy with. And then the power play as well, this has been concerning for me. It's been the power play. They got on the board last night. and kind of looked like last year's power play where they win a faceoff and immediately take it to the net and end up scoring a goal. But that had taken a few games to get going. And then you look at some of the underlying numbers too, the expected goals against, the high danger chances against. When you hear Scott Arneal after the game saying, look, Connor Hellebuyck obviously going to be a big boost to our group, but we're giving up way too many grade A's right now. That's what he's talking about. This team is near the bottom half of the league in almost every single major defensive analytic when they were at the top of the league last year, or top 5, top 10, and all of these, important stats where chances against, expected goals against, and how good are you playing defensively. So Connor Hellebuyck will come back and absolutely improve the penalty kill percentage and the team save percentage and some of those numbers there. But when it comes to the chances they're giving up, Connor Hellebuyck can't score goals either. I mean, it'd be awesome if he scored a goalie goal, but they got to find some stuff on the power play here.
Can we get some secondary scoring from the freaking goalie? Is that where we're at right now?
That's where we're at. No, but in all seriousness, he'll improve the penalty kill and the save percentage and those things, but the grade A's and the goal scoring, that's got to come from the players out there on the ice.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, there is an element of psychology or psychiatry, frankly, to all of this, in that, there is some times where you're, without, a very important player and, you see, a tangible effect outside of where that player is actually making an impact on. The goaltender for Winnipeg would be in that line of conversation. And I guess there's the possibility that Hellebuyck comes back and it is a huge boost to the team. And all of a sudden you're seeing more of the things that they have done successfully in the past couple of years. When, may I remind you, back-to-back President's trophies, or back-to-back Jennings trophies as the best defensive team in the league. But you could just see it in Scott Arneal last night. And I mean, this is not new to any of us that watch every single game and every single shift and talk about it every day here on this show or in this chat or around Winnipeg. They're just far off it. They look lost. And not really, this is the other thing that was disappointing last night. We all felt it being in the building. A tangible lack of energy and I don't want to use the pushback term like kind of in the same way that Rick Bowness, meant it back in the playoffs. But when things start going the other way, they don't seem to have a lot of answers to try to quell it until you're often, unfortunately, facing off at center ice.
Yeah, no kidding. And look, Scott Arneal was asked today if he liked what he got from, the Luke Shen fight and then the response after. And he said yes for the first 10 minutes. But then as we said on the post-game reaction, very quickly, and when I say very quickly, 2 minutes and 44 seconds to be exact, the Jets were down 3-1 after the Morgan Barron goal. So they got that response to start the game. They looked great in the first couple of minutes, got a 1-0 lead, and then very quickly were down 3-1. And from that point forward, just kind of traded goals. And then the third period, the push wasn't really there. It kind of was. Korpisalo made some saves, but he was shaky last night. I thought the Jets got to him and could have got to him more as the game went on. Just real quick to go back on what you said about Hellebuyck there, Huss. He was actually asked about that, Scott Arneal was today. And he said, I think there is both sides to this where, yes, Connor Hellebuyck coming back is obviously a massive boost, and you can't undersell the MVP coming back. Like, the Jets will get more points and they'll get more wins with Connor Hellebuyck in the lineup than without it. And at the same time, you take McDavid off Edmonton, you take McKinnon off Colorado, you take these heart level trophy players off of these teams, they're going to struggle too. But it's just, I think the struggles have gone a little bit further than what all of us could have predicted. I think obviously with no Hellebuyck, the issues would be magnified, the secondary scoring, the team speed, the chances they're giving up. But I don't think any of us predicted it. Maybe some people did, to be this bad and for them to be the worst team in the NHL since the start of November and all of these things. So there's a little bit of both where, like, yes, Connor Hellebuyck's coming back and he's going to be a massive boost to this team, but the issues kind of span far beyond what he brings to the table right now. And I talked earlier about secondary scoring and all of those things. So a lot of questions to be answered, and it doesn't get any easier right now. I think the Caps are 8-0-2 in their last 10 coming in tomorrow night against the Winnipeg Jets here at Canada Life Center. So big one for the Jets tomorrow.
Yeah, they I think they lost in a shootout in their last one, but yeah, it's 7-1-2 right now.
Oh, there you go.
They've been absolutely rolling. And we knew this week was going to be a pivotal week. I mean, how do you stack up against Dallas and Boston and Washington and then Ottawa coming up on Monday night? 2 are down. The best case scenario is going 2-2. And then, oh, by the way, there's a road game next week against the Avalanche. You do have St. Louis and Utah on the schedule. But right now, instead of looking down at St. Louis and Utah, you're looking around at St. Louis and Utah. For all the talk about how incredible the Central Division is, and you got the Minnesota Wild in the top 7 in the league, Colorado and Dallas, the number 1 and 2 teams. If you're coming up from the bottom, there's Vancouver and Calgary. Going up, it's 3 Central Division teams.
Yep.
Nashville, 2 games under 500. The Blues, 3. They got pumped by the Preds last night. And then the Winnipeg Jets. And, I mean, we've talked about what NHL 500 gets you. 82 points, which is probably good for around the 6th pick in the draft. I mean, that's where the Winnipeg Jets are right now. And again, we're at the 30-game mark of the season. We're 11 games away from the midway point of the season. And, Connor, I said before that I know that the MO of this hockey club and management has been a very clear plan, a patient path moving forward. Even the most patient general manager in the league, I'm sure that patience is wearing very, very thin. And we'll talk about this with Murat in a couple of minutes. I don't know there's any way that they are not seriously considering some options that would have been inconceivable in the first month of the season. But that's where this team is right now at crunch time, heading into the Christmas break.
Yeah, and I know fans will want to hear about call-ups and, players from the Moose and those things. And Scott Arneal was asked about that today. Has that been a discussion internally? And he said yes. And the conversations are ramping up as these losses continue. He did add that it's getting tougher here with the fact that they're healthy now, and all of the players that they have up, they would have to put on waivers, and he did admit that is kind of a hurdle. But he said, those conversations have started with Kevin Cheveldayoff, and they'll continue as long as this slide continues. And he's just trying to coach the team that's in front of him, I think is the phrasing that he used. But look, Huss, according to Tankathon, which I know some fans might have gone over and hit the lottery.
This is where we're at right now.
No. I'm not talking about the some fans might have gone to the lottery simulator, but I'm actually talking about something else. The strength of schedule. Tankathon calculates, your remaining strength of schedule. The Jets have the 3rd toughest schedule in the NHL left to come. They have the Colorado Avalanche 4 times still. They play Vegas 3 times still. They still have Dallas twice. They have, from here till the end of the season, the 3rd toughest schedule remaining. So they've gotten through the easy part of their schedule, and they're 14-15-1 and not looking great right now. But look, there's been lots of talk about a condensed schedule as well, Huss. And the schedule is more condensed this year. And especially, you look at January, you look at March, the Jets are going to be playing every other day, all of those things. I actually went back and looked to this point. Has it been more condensed? Last year, the season started on October 8th. This year, it started on October 7th. And through December 11th, the Jets had played 30 games both times. So far, compared to last year, they've played the same amount of games in the same amount of time compared to last year. And they're just not getting the results. They haven't had Connor Hellebuyck. They've had players hurt. They have the 3rd toughest remaining schedule. There's a lot going on here, man. A lot going on here.
And the fact of the matter is they had an incredible start record-wise.
Right.
I mean, we laid it out. Since the 2nd of November, the worst team in the league. And that, well, as I said, that gets you into the neighborhood that they're in right now with some of the other bottom dwellers in the league. I think anyone would agree that there's much more to get from this team, but it's not happening right now. And there's not a lot of options, within, think about how hard it was for the Edmonton Oilers to finally make that deal today. And again, you're speaking about a team that has some very clear members of the core that probably aren't on the table at all. They wouldn't even consider it. And then after that, I don't know how many of these assets, particularly in the current plight of the Winnipeg Jets, what they are getting you for on the open market until you get closer to something like the deadline if you're out, and then that's a very different story as far as talking about competing this year.
For sure. And Huss, it's crazy to think, like, Judy Owen today asked Arneal about Mark Scheifele's Olympic chances. Like, this guy's on pace for over 100 points. Same with Kyle Connor. Josh Borsi's having a great season. Gabe Vilardi's on pace for a career year. And we're still in the situation that the Winnipeg Jets are in right now as the worst team in the NHL since November 2nd. So it's an interesting time where the top of the lineup players are playing great, like Scheifele, Connor, Morrissey, and Vilardi, and they're still not getting the results. And Connor Hellebuyck obviously will add a boost in the coming weeks here, but lots to be discussed with this Winnipeg Jets team. And look, tomorrow is 3 weeks from Connor Hellebuyck's surgery, when he was given a 4 to 6 week timeline. Next Friday, a week today, the Jets are going to be playing the Avalanche on the road. And we've talked a lot about, like measuring stick games in the past when the Jets have been good, but that'll be, I think, a big measuring stick game in the opposite direction, where, you just see the level that another team's on. They have 2 regulation losses still as we sit here
they
on December 12th.
Skated circles around the Stanley Cup champs last night and, lit them up. And well, first things first, Caps tomorrow. I know you'll be down there. Of course, we'll have WST Sunday Live Sunday morning at 9 a.m., breaking down everything that happens Saturday night. And, of course, looking ahead to Monday against the Sens. Connor, thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Huss.
Good stuff. We've got Murat Ates. She's just about ready to join us. Let's take a quick time out and thank our friends at Princess Auto, and we'll come back with Murat Ates from The Athletic. Princess Auto, wonderful support we've received for years from Princess Auto, as they've done for so many of our sporting institutions, including the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Winnipeg Jets. Princess Auto, really synonymous with Winnipeg, as they're founded and headquartered right here in the Peg, and now serving Canadians coast to coast with the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new, or cross off that special gift for Christmas, waiting for you at Princess Auto. In Winnipeg, visit them on Panet Road or Portage Avenue West. Also out in Brandon for our friends at Westman. And as always, you can check out the great deals and shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. Speaking of the holidays and a little snow, Terminator and the Chuds gang out of Chuds Power Sports are ready for the snow to fly, and they are ready for the holidays. It's the best gifts don't go under the tree. They come from Chuds Power Sports. Enjoy holly jolly savings across every department. And don't forget to browse their online parts store at truenorthparts.com for Christmas specials that slay the competition. Holiday must-haves this December include ATVs, side-by-sides, personal transportation, and commercial XTVs, not to mention ice fish houses, RVs, gear and accessories. And with snowmobile season arrived, brand new Polaris and Arctic Cat sleds. This is the Christmas gift that guarantees excitement. Pop down and see the wonderful people at Chuds Power Sports taking care of the community. For over 80 years, Manitoba's undisputed power sports superstore, corner of Highway 8 and 231, and online at chudspowersports.com. And while we're talking about Christmas, Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery invite you to give the gift of power this year. Now, first and foremost, you got to make sure you get to Christmas, and it's going to be gnarly on the weekend. You can pop by your local Manitoba Battery on Logan Avenue or Dovercourt Drive for a free battery test. And if you need a new battery, you'll get the best price in town. But right now, you can give the gift of power at Manitoba Battery with some great deals, including $5 to $10 off the incredible low prices on power sport batteries, $10 to $20 off booster packs for you ice fishermen and fishing people, $99 for the ice fishing flasher battery combo, 12-foot booster cables for under $20, and of course, you've got gift cards as well for the gift of power from Manitoba Battery. Your local option, best prices in town, beating the pants off the big box stores, best customer service, delivery citywide inside the perimeter, and of course, you can also order it all online at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's continue the plight of the Jets right now as they sit where they do. Our good friend Murat Ates joins us now. Murat, great to have you on the program. Although, yikes, there are some tough conversations being had in these spaces and anywhere Winnipeg Jets fans are right now after another loss last night. I mean, we thought that, okay, they're not going to be what they were last year right out the bat. Maybe it'll make them better for the playoffs. But, I mean, who could have possibly seen after the first month of the season that the team had in October plunging to the depths that they are right now, not only in the standings, but also in the way they look most nights?
Yeah, it's been such a myriad of problems, too, that has plagued them. Danielle Bain of TSN asked Scott Arneal today, you got Connor Hellebuyck coming back. Are the problems you're seeing right now, were they there when he was in the net and you guys were winning? Or is this a brand new sort of scenario of things? And Arneal hemmed and hawed. He gave an answer, but I think that the answer is that some of the problems are new, some of them are old, some of them have changed. And the fact is that there's just so many. The Jets, they looked pretty good against Dallas until breakdowns. They even looked pretty good for stretches against Boston until they looked absolutely awful. And I don't know if there's a sense the cavalry's coming, Hellebuyck's coming back soon or what. The breakdowns are something fierce right now, and even below the standard of what you'd expect from a struggling Jets team. Yeah,
I mean, I echo what you just said, because, over the last couple of games, I mean, if you were just popping in for 5 minutes to see what was going on, there was a chance you would have seen a team that looked okay for a while. But the combination of how far that they have fallen off of their previous standard defensively. I mean, it's one thing talking about, guys aren't scoring. Defense is a whole different story. Fallen off the way that they have combined. And sometimes when you do that, you take more penalties. You take bad penalties. You take penalties where you don't want to be taking them, like in the offensive zone. And then combine that right now with what's happening in the loss of Hellebuyck and the struggles of the PK. And this feels like a snowball rolling down a hill that is getting bigger and bigger by the game.
Yeah, they need to have something they can hang their hat on. And for the Winnipeg Jets, it used to be team defense. And it used to be, it would be so easy at any given moment. Let's say they're in the D zone. Let's say that they got stuck there for a second. And that didn't happen to them a lot last year. But if you look, you could take a snapshot and you'd see the image of when you look at dice and you see a number 5, you'd see them in great shape that way. You'd have obvious structure to how they're playing, and they protect the middle of the ice. You're not seeing that right now. You'd have a PK, even when we criticized it during stretches of last year because it was middling at times, especially earlier for a stretch. They weren't getting seamed and carved just as badly as they are right now. And, I think there's a chance Connor Hellebuyck saves a little bit of what Eric Comrie has been letting in. But let's be clear, the Jets have tried to stay aggressive and on their toes on the PK, and they haven't gotten the clears. They haven't really been effective at shutting down teams from getting their A looks. And, that's a problem no matter who's in net. And so if you're not going to be able to hang your hat on those, well, let's look over the power play where that Gabriel Velarde goal was their first in a while, and they just haven't been dominant on that front either. So, you add it all up, it's problematic. And I think the biggest concern is you look at Josh Morrissey playing 25, 26, 27 minutes. He's getting probably exhausted. He's getting beaten coverage sometimes too now when they're chasing the game. Got Scheifele and Connor's minutes up there, the cavalry's coming in net, but there's no game breaker just waiting in the wings to show up and save the flow of play otherwise. They have a lot to grow from.
Well, for sure. And I mean, listen, in the short term, speaking of the cavalry, I mean, that is either players from the Moose or players from outside the organization, which, is far easier said than done in today's cap world, not to mention with what the Winnipeg Jets have and what Kevin Cheveldayoff has and is willing to trade. I mean, at the start of this year, if I'd said, maybe they'll have their first round pick will be in play, some prospects will be in play. Well, we're in such a different time right now with where the team is in the standings. You would be, it would be a borderline negligence to do anything with an early pick this year based on where they are right now. And unfortunately, there's sort of a pretty clear delineation between players that have value to the Jets and maybe elsewhere, and then players right now that just are so far underperforming both their contract and their place on the team that's not really where trades come for either. Specifically to Hellebuyck. If Hellebuyck comes back in the next couple games and puts forth a Hellebuckian performance and they can get a win, just a start with him back in the net, how impactful could that be? Because as I say, I'm with you. Like, there's so many other things that are going wrong. A great goaltender will mask it. It'll maybe push it down the road a little bit, but there's so many other things that need to change and players that need to step up and play that, to me, I can't wait for Helly to get back, but I don't think that is going to be anywhere close to a cure-all for what's ailing this team.
Yeah, well, the difference is, like you mentioned, the negligence that would be involved in trading their first-round pick. That's 5th overall you're talking about right now. That's the highest Winnipeg Jets draft pick since what? Patrick Laine? Yeah. That is an incredible asset, and it's astonishing that Winnipeg holds on to the presumed 5th pick as of right this minute. The difference that Hellebuyck makes, though, it's measurable, right? You can plot out even just a difference in their save percentages this season, the difference between Hellebuyck and Eric Comrie behind the same problematic 5-on-5 team, the same problematic PK. You can plot it out, and there's real goal differential to be changed by upgrading to Connor Hellebuyck there. He is a difference maker, and probably that difference is between a top 5 pick and maybe a wild card spot. I think that he's that good. I think the Winnipeg Jets, despite being a flawed team, are good enough to be propped up by goaltending as great as Hellebuyck's can be. And like, there are some fans who are going to look at that proposition and call it like the wrong play. Like there's a fire up the lottery pick movement happening in some corners of the internet right now. And I think Hellebuyck's good enough to change that. I think if you're trying to maintain some positivity or some optimism about the Winnipeg Jets, the other thing that Hellebuyck's return does is it buys them time. They got a lot to sort out. They have an awful lot to sort out, and they need more from so many players. Scott Arneal's told me in back-to-back yesterday and today, maybe the day before that, when I'm asking him questions about the roster construction, he keeps repeating, well, we need other guys to step up too. We have other players that need to make differences, and they need time to figure that stuff out for various reasons individually. That middle six, that bottom line, like there's a lot there that needs to be delivering more, and maybe Connor Hellebuyck helps the team tread water until they catch something amongst that group.
Hellebuyck aside, because he is a one of one and will certainly help, but we've seen what's happened with this club even before he was out, and it was going in the wrong direction rather quickly. I remember asking, I think it was you, after the Anaheim game about a month ago, what must Kevin Cheveldayoff be thinking, in the building last night, watching his team look the way they did against a younger, faster team? Well, fast forward right now. I think the thinking at the time was, oh, that was ugly. We'll figure it out. We'll get better going forward. I mean, we're now another month, a month where the Jets have been playing at a level that is 32nd in the National Hockey League. What do you think is being contemplated right now of the limited options that they have to try to stop the bleeding and to get more out of, in particular, a forward group that has been consistently underwhelming, and many players that, seemingly have no answers to, what they're expected to do and the ability to do it?
Well, I'd love to give you an answer that gives the diehard fans in the chat right now something to feel good about, but I don't have that answer. I don't think that, I think that whatever level of misery they're experiencing as they're looking at the play of the Winnipeg Jets right now, I mean, if you look at the decisions they're making, they have to believe the answers are coming from within the room, or else there'd be more commitment to change. The tweaks to the top line, the tweaks to the lines, the shuffling of the chairs, so to speak, those are things that that you do when Alex Iafallo is a placeholder for Gabriel Velarde to make that return someday. This is not a revolutionary line shuffle from that group. When you hear Scott Arneal asked about calling players up from the Moose, as he was today, like, what other roster moves do you contemplate? And he says, well, that was easier to do when we had injuries to make room. Right now, that's not easy to do. That means that he believes the answers are in the room. This is a veteran team that's all in on those veterans. They're not making the revolutionary change of putting Gustav Nyquist on waivers like I saw someone suggest. Like, that's not coming down the pipe. The cavalry isn't coming from the Moose. And there's also a huge movement saying, hey, play the kids, play the kids. The kids aren't performing. You want Brad Lambert to step back up to the NHL and somehow be the inspiration that changes the dynamic here. Well, look at his scoring rates in the AHL. That's not a top 6 impact player at any level. Certainly not one that's going to be the boost at the NHL level. And so when you then have that being a trade chip that everybody knows is a trade chip, you're not getting a top 6 boost via Lambert, Heinola, and a second. And even that second round pick right now is in the top 40 based on how the Winnipeg Jets are in the standings. And you might not want to trade that if you're the Winnipeg Jets either. So, like, is there something coming down the pipe? It's hard for me to believe that. I do think they do need a bit more jam in that middle 6. I love the idea of a Mason Marchment type disturber who can play with skill. But the Seattle Kraken aren't making that move until Jaden Schwartz is healthy. And then even then, they're not doing it for Lambert and Heinola and whomever you want to throw in there. So that points us back to, I believe the Jets believe the answers are in the room, or they're willing to at least ride it out and see what misery they end up with if they're not.
I got bad news. The second round pick that we were just talking about that's right now in the top 40, that's already been traded. As has the second round pick in 2027. And I believe those were both part of last year's deals with Brandon Tanev and Luke Shen. So it's the first pick. I mean, if anything, and it's crazy to talk about this at the 30-game mark, Murat, but I mean, we are getting into an area that this would be advanced. I mean, but in and around Olympic time, I mean, if things haven't changed significantly, all of a sudden the fact that they traded those picks away might be some targets of what they're trying to add if, in fact, they get to the point that this is a season that is basically lost. And I can't believe I'm saying that 30 games in, but it is very hard not to read the tea leaves and look at the standings and realize that at some point is going to be reality if things don't change significantly.
I am embarrassed that I forgot those picks were moved. The second went out as part of the package for Luke Shen, who is getting smoked on the Winnipeg Jets' third pair. That is a problem. The Winnipeg Jets gave that pick up, and if the fourth round pick is also inside the top 100, 2 top 100 picks for a player who doesn't have the pace to play and impact the game on a third pair that's largely been sheltered. I mean, no wonder he's dropping the gloves. He's a gamer. He's trying. He's doing his best to make an impact, but the game has passed him by. There's a speed element and a puck movement element that the Winnipeg Jets don't have, and they paid richly for it. And that may, in and of itself, mark the end of what had been a hot streak for Kevin Cheveldayoff. And we gave him his roses during that period of time where he was getting Nino Niederreiter for a second round pick. I think it's worth saying, hey, there have been some major misses on his part in his more recent transactions. That's a problem. If they thought they had everything and just needed a tiny bit of playoff experience, well, it's clear that they don't have the horses, and the playoff experience that they added may not even be an everyday NHL player at this stage of their career. That's a problem, and part of why we're talking about a whole host of problems. And I'm not ready to say wasted season or anything like that yet, but some people are. And, I'm not thinking that that's unreasonable either. That's, I'm embarrassed I forgot. And it really is emblematic of everything I think that's going on in Winnipeg right now.
I mean, here's the reality. We're 30 games into the regular season, which means there's 52 games more on the sched, including tomorrow night against Washington. The team is one game under 500. I mean, realistically, I think at this point to be in the playoffs, sometimes the playoff line has been as high as 100 points with all the 3-point games. But let's be conservative and say that the playoff line is going to be 95 points, which it could definitely be higher. But in the West right now, the wild cards are higher in the East. So let's say it's 95 points. To get to 95 points at the end of the year, you need to have 13 more wins than you do regulation losses. Well, the Jets are -1 in that right now. So in 52 games, you're talking about needing to have to be 14 games above 500 over 52 games to be in that threshold. You do the math, that's what, 30, 16, and 6? That seems like a really tall task for this hockey club right now, even if you come back and get the best of Connor Hellebuyck beginning tomorrow night.
Well, it all points to the amount of help that the Winnipeg Jets need to make a playoff push. You need Hellebuyck to come back and be great. You need some magic to happen in their special teams, which have gone cold. You need help in the standings, because what you're projecting right there does sound like a task too far. I also saw a projection, I think it was Dom at The Athletic, who was putting his Western playoff cut line in the 80s. And like my memory, we just proved isn't perfect, but it was a uniquely low cut line, especially compared to the East, where a whole bunch of teams are on pace for higher than that. So you need kind of a miracle in just how the competition susses itself out. And then what are you playing for there? Like, you're playing for a miracle against the Colorado Avalanche in the first round at this rate, because you've squeaked into the playoffs. You haven't buried other teams like you did last year. And there's a lot of people who would say that that's, like, if you're just trying to optimize the cup window that the Winnipeg Jets have in front of them, it may have been better if they tanked. And that, on a win now team that's spending all kinds of money on veterans, look at the veterans they signed in the offseason. The cap hits attached to some of them. If Taves hits his games played bonuses, like, that is a stunning miss. And it makes us wonder, when they sat down in the summer and asked themselves, well, what's gone so well for us in the last little while? What do we have going for us, and what do we need? They might have gotten those questions wrong. And Huss, I'm going to say something crazy. I'm not out on them being a playoff team, as astonishing as that record is. I am out on them doing something in the playoffs, I think, at this stage, without something just striking. But somehow, I think Adam Lowry's going to get a bit more step in his game. Taves is going to stay on the fourth line or prove he doesn't deserve to be there. I'm going to see some incremental steps from Perfetti and Sandberg, who started the season hurt. I'm going to see not a sea change. I'm not selling transformative excellence top to bottom of the roster, but I think there's enough players who aren't at their absolute best right now who will improve, that I could see the Winnipeg Jets plus Connor Hellebuyck squeaking their way in.
You know what the funny thing is, Murat, and I'm already hearing myself say this in, I don't know, about March 28th or something like that. If they are able to pull themselves out of where they are with some of the things that you mentioned and getting back in the mix to a point where, they could very well be a wild card team, I can hear myself now convincing myself, hey, it was a terrible first half, but to be where they are right now, they've been really good over the last 2.5 months. Fire it up, get the white zone, and get ready to go. I mean, I get it. We live in the moment, and the moment right now is really, really down for people that follow this hockey club. But I am sort of with you. There's so much more to get out of many of these players that we've seen before, that's certainly not out of the question. I mean, I will say this, for what it's worth. I mean, the people that I always kind of follow are the betting companies, with what the risk that they're taking on particular teams. The Jets yesterday, going into last night's game at 500, were still a -120 favorite to make the playoffs compared to the other teams around them. Now, that will certainly change if this continues. But the point is well taken. From what we've seen to what we know this team is capable of, especially with the return of Connor Hellebuyck, like I can't imagine it staying as dire as it is. But I will ask you, Murat, at what point, if this continues, does management completely change course and sort of realize that this is a lost year and punt on the season to both hopefully get a better draft pick, maybe recoup a few more assets, knowing that this core is still going to be here and still talented and still able to do good things if the mix and surrounding cast is different and better?
Yeah, I think the answer is going to be slower than Winnipeg Jets fans want the answer to be. I'm anticipating early New Year meetings on behalf of management and pro scouting and all of that, maybe intensifying during the Olympic break, assuming there is an Olympic break. That's the chapter of the season where, that's only a month and a half away at this stage, isn't it? And so presumably in that scenario, you've gotten Connor Hellebuyck back. You've given yourself time to have a miracle or not. And remember, they're still going to have over half the season left to play with Connor Hellebuyck back at the rate that he's seems to be progressing. So that's hopeful. But if you've given that some weeks and it's not working, the problems are too big, he can't even paper them over, nobody stepped up, none of these suggestions I'm making of improvements incrementally, none of that's happened. I think it's in advance of the Olympic break. And I think that's a time probably you start to see management teams from around the NHL sort of pick lanes to a certain degree, depending on the standings. And then it's go time between then and the trade deadline to actually make the sales, actually move the vets for picks, actually do the sorts of things that commit yourself to acknowledging that this was not your year. I think one of the worst things that Winnipeg could do would be to stand pat and finish 5 points shy of the playoffs, not even getting that chip in a chair, not even getting a chance at a miracle for their troubles. And they've got to be honest with themselves when time runs out. And I think for me, that's, late January. In and around then, I think you'll have a clearer picture.
Yeah, listen, we have seen it before, the Line A year in particular, where they probably weren't intending on being there. And then there was a bunch of guys that had nagging injuries that were shut down for the end of the season. And it sort of helped them move into that spot. And then obviously they won the lottery and moved up and ended up picking second overall. It is a pretty stacked draft from many of the experts, so that'll be something people will be talking about. But the fact that we're even talking about high draft picks at this point with the expectations going, I think speaks to just how shocking and sad it's been to see the way this team has played. Just before we go, maybe there'll be a 1,000 boost tomorrow night. Nino Niederreiter getting in. I know he spoke today. It's such a big milestone for an individual that is such a beloved player here in Winnipeg, around the league. Kind of tough to have such a special night happening in the middle of a run where it seems like there's a massive black cloud hanging over the team's dressing room.
Yeah, and he acknowledged he wished that this was happening in the middle of the team being more successful. I think that, the vibes around it would be a whole lot brighter too. Because all that his teammates want to do at a time like this is say good things about him. They want to be in a good space and all that. And they're certainly doing that. He's a popular teammate. But just the amount that they can unwind and, kick back and really get into Nino Niederreiter lore is probably affected by the cloud of losing that's taking place in Winnipeg right now. I think I saw Mitch Clinton tweet that the Jets are 3-0 if you go to Paul Stastny, Blake Wheeler, and Sam Gagne's 1,000 games. Those are the only ones to do it in Winnipeg in a Jets uniform in the 2.0 era. So that's, maybe that's good tidings if you're looking for reasons for optimism. Either way, it was cool to see Nino lead the stretch, get his stick taps. It was great to speak to him afterwards as well. Got a couple one-on-one minutes with him too. And it's just, he's a guy you can be happy for. And maybe in some ways is emblematic of this Winnipeg Jets team. I think he's trying so hard out there. I think that I don't doubt this team's effort level. I do doubt its ability at times. And for a guy that works as hard as he does, and he's had a stronger statistical start to the season, you hope for good things, and maybe that's enough to give them a little bit of a boost tomorrow. I don't know. It's been tough.
No doubt about it. Well, certainly no shortage of topics to write about at The Athletic. Murat, thank you so much for doing it. Congratulations on everything. And we will look forward to seeing you at the rink and talking to you next week. And hopefully maybe the tone will be a little bit more positive depending on what happens on the ice starting tomorrow against the Washington Capitals. Have a great weekend, pal.
Thanks, Thanks for having me.
All right, good stuff from Murat. We are going to talk some more hockey. There was a big trade today in the National Hockey League. A big trade, a trade, long-awaited deal to the Oilers for Tristan Jarry, and the latest on the Olympics. We're going to get to all of that with Stephen Whyno in just a moment. First up, to a big thanks to our friends at Clean Line. Clean Line, plumbing, heating, and electrical. Your local leader for over 40 years and the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets for all of your plumbing needs, both residential and commercial. Clean Line has got you covered, as well as heating and electrical services. And like the captain who has the backs of the Winnipeg Jets, Clean Line has your back 24/7, 365 with emergency services available in the Winnipeg area. For all your plumbing, heating, and electrical needs, use Clean Line, family owned and operated for over 40 years. Check them out online at cleanline.ca. We are, 8 days away from our holiday get-together watch party, December 17th, Boston Pizza, Kenaston. I know it seems like a lot of people in the chat looking forward to joining us. If you haven't made plans or a podcast listener, give them a buzz, reserve a table, or just come down and join us for what should be a heck of a lot of fun. In the meanwhile, great gift card promo right now at BP. With every $50 gift card you purchase for gifting, you get a $10 promo card as well. And if you need to buy for an office or a big run, you'll get an extra 10% gift cards for every $1,000 purchased. You can get those at any local Boston Pizza. And if you're staying at home to watch the game tonight, order online at bostonpizza.com. The Christmas push continues at Royal Sports, Winnipeg's sports superstore. Jets gear, moving, jerseys, of course, customized with your favorite player's name and number, ready to be opened up under the tree. Royals got it all. They've also got the entire National Hockey League covered with jerseys and more from around the league, not to mention NFL, Jays and Major League Baseball, NBA, Raptors, international soccer, Team Canada gear for the upcoming World Cup. And for all you hockey players, over $200,000 in sticks on the floor, priced up to 50% off. Great deals on hockey equipment. And of course, tons of great gift ideas on the Kings skate, snow, and surf side of the store as well. Not to mention the biggest snowboard department in town. It's all waiting for you in time for Christmas at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out online on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and some great holiday gift ideas. All right, Stephen Ellis is going to join us to fill us in on this World Junior Camp coming up. First up, though, let's give a big holiday cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
What's going on, Whyno? Great to have you back on the show. How are you?
I'm doing busy, but great. How you, Hustler?
Same thing. My hockey team's driving me nuts right now, and we'll get to Jets Caps in a minute, but I kind of figured we kind of focus in on the Olympics right off the bat. That's going to have to wait. In the famed voice of Gary Bettman, we have a trade to announce. Finally, the long-awaited goaltending move of the Edmonton Oilers happens today. And, when you're in a cap situation like the Oilers are, maybe it's not surprising it took this long and the trade looks as it. Give us a quick rundown of the Jarry deal to Edmonton.
Yeah, I mean, we've been waiting for this since the 24-24 final, where everyone's saying, are Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard the answer to this? And Sam Bowman decides ultimately, after having the fourth worst save percentage in the league with those guys, another season after another loss in the final with a combined 870 something save percentage, Tristan Jarry going to the Edmonton Oilers, Stuart Skinner and Brett Kulak and a draft pick in 2029, which feels like forever from now, to the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then the Oilers go and get Spencer Stastny for a third-round pick from Nashville to sort of as a younger Brett Kulak replacement. It's a huge shakeup of at the most important position in hockey for a team that we think has been stopped from winning the Stanley Cup, maybe at least once, if not twice, or more during this span by not having the right goaltending. And Tristan Jarry is an average, maybe slightly above average NHL goaltender. But if that's what Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson think, that they can win with that level of goaltending, Tristan Jarry might be able to give them that.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Jarry's numbers, and he's got a 909 this year. He's 9-3-1. It's a significant bounce back from last season and even the year before. But if you look at his body of work as an NHL goaltender, he's been right in and around a 9-10 or so, if not better, for the majority of his career. Where's he at right now? I mean, you spent a lot of time watching the Penguins in the East. Was last season a blip, or are the Oilers getting a guy that is past his best before date?
Well, the problem here, if you're the Oilers, is you're not worried about getting to the playoffs. You're worried about winning in the playoffs. Tristan Jarry's got an 891 save percentage in the playoffs. So just like Stuart Skinner and Calvin Pickard, is not a proven playoff performer. And give Tristan Jarry a lot of credit. I think a lot of people, myself included, probably wrote him off last summer after last season as he's not going to be an NHL goaltender, at least be an NHL starter. But Tristan Jarry has shown he can handle that in this league and that sort of workload. But he also has a lot to prove. Just like the Oilers have a lot to prove about getting over the hump and winning. Something had to give, though. I think whether it was Tristan Jarry, I don't know who the other options out there reasonably were. You're not going to get Cam Talbot back or John Gibson. Elvis Merzlikins just got yanked by Columbus last night. I don't know that there was a better option out there available than Tristan Jarry in a cap environment where a lot of teams are looking for goaltending help anyway. But something had to change. I said this to someone the other day, that I could never imagine when Connor McDavid lifts the Stanley Cup over his head that Stuart Skinner is the one in goal. And so this takes that out of the equation entirely. I think everyone wishes the best for Stuart Skinner wherever he goes, because he's one of the best people in hockey to deal with, really a stand-up guy, win or lose. But something had to give, and Tristan Jarry gets the next role at trying this. And now I'll be interested to see what Stan Bowman does, if anything, with that other goaltending position between now and the March 5th or 6th trade deadline.
So what is this, Whyno, what does this tell us about where Kyle Dubas's head is at? Because the Pittsburgh Penguins have been one of the pleasant surprises of the year. You've got Sidney Crosby, albeit in the twilight, but still playing at a very, very high level. And you got a Pittsburgh team that is, as we go into action tonight, in a playoff spot at 6 games above 500, despite the loss last night. Is this still Dubas sticking to his plan, knowing that this team probably isn't a cup contender, and doing what he can do to make his team better? Maybe not necessarily today, but in the long run. How do you read the play by the Pens GM?
I read this that he thinks he's got 2 or 3 other goaltenders who are ready to step in, and that they didn't need Tristan Jarry anymore. And that's why I'm a little surprised Stuart Skinner was in this deal and not flip somewhere else. And then maybe, and that might happen before the end of the day, before the end of the week, before the end of the season, that some other contender believes in Stuart Skinner and wants to give him a second chance, or another team's willing to give up an asset to get him. So Kyle Dubas takes Stuart Skinner and says, let's play him behind a team that has played really well under Dan Muse, the new head coach who replaced Mike Sullivan there. That you say he might be a trade piece as a pending UFA come the end of the Olympic break and in March. And they've got Sergei Murashev, who's their goaltender of the future. They've got Yoel Blomqvist, who they also think could be a goalie of the future. They have Artur Shilovs after that trade from Vancouver last year. They have a wealth of options, none proven, but a wealth of options in goal that you can say, hey, we're trading from a position of strength here. And I've been want to criticize Kyle Dubas for how he's handled goaltending situations in the past. How he thought Matt Murray and Peter Mrazek and those guys were the solution in Toronto. I think this is a move where he knows he's got good goaltenders, and this is an asset sort of stacking deal that it doesn't make the Penguins that much worse right now, and it makes them potentially way better 2-3 years from now.
I mean, listen, when we're here in Winnipeg having plenty of conversations about what the Jets could possibly do to shake up their lineup. I mean, you've got some veterans that are woefully underperforming that probably don't have much value around the league. I mean, you could obviously waive somebody and send them to the minors, which I guess is something that we'll talk about. But when we see a deal like this made, how valuable will teams' cap space be to some teams later on in the year? I mean, this had to be sort of a money in, money out deal for the Edmonton Oilers, but for teams that might not be playoff teams that have cap room, we always hear about it being weaponized or it being an asset. Based on this deal and the tea leaves moving forward, do you think teams out of the playoffs will be able to, make some hay on not necessarily assets, but the fact that they can take players from other teams that might not be fitting in so they can make other moves?
I don't think so now, and it's because the cap's gone up so much, and the cap is going up so much that GMs are no longer worried about it. And you have the unintended consequence of the other side of teams that are rebuilding think they used to be able to do this. They could get assets. Like the Coyotes many years ago got a second-round pick for taking Shane Gostisbehere's contract off the Philadelphia Flyers' hands. Look at the Jake Wallman trade and some of the other ones, right? Where you think you can stack up assets, but because there are very few, and now teams are up against the cap this year. You look at Vegas with Pietrangelo and LTIR and some other teams that are contenders, but I don't think the weaponizing of cap space is going to be a thing, and maybe a little more this year, but like decreasing as we go each season because the cap is going up exponentially. This is the biggest leap we've seen since before the pandemic. Next year's leap is going to be another record, and then so on and so forth, where yes, the salaries are going to keep increasing, but I don't think the teams saying, oh, we'll take that contract. The value for getting that back, or the value of what you're getting for that contract, isn't what it was a year ago even, or 2 years ago, when that flat cap made it sort of everyone's counting the pennies, all that. And you're right, there was a dollar in, dollar out for Edmonton for now, but that's so that the Oilers preserve the cap space they may need if they have to do another move, and probably will have to make at least one other move before the deadline.
Stephen Whyno with us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. You were at the Prudential Center last night for the New Jersey Devils Tampa Bay Lightning game. How much of the talk in and around the press box and the conversations just around the Devils in general involve the lone Hughes brother that is not currently a member of the Jersey Devils, and that, of course, is the captain of the Canucks, Quinn?
And the fact that Quinn Hughes and the Vancouver Canucks are going to be in New Jersey on Sunday afternoon. And
I didn't know that.
And the thing sparing Quinn Hughes of this is no morning skate. It's an afternoon game. So he may not have to sort of deal with all the talk about this. But I talked to Quinn and Jack Hughes about this at the NHL Player Media Tour in September, along with colleagues like Josh Clibbert and Pierre LeBrun, just Michael Russo, just about sort of the speculation about this. And Jack's like, of course we all want to play together, but like, what's he supposed to say? And it's one of these things where now around the Devils, yes, the short answer to your question is yes. The conversation is about Quinn Hughes all the time, because all Devils fans want to talk about and ask everybody involved around the team is what's going to happen with Quinn Hughes. And it's honestly the biggest mystery or forks in the road of in the NHL right now, or what are Patrick Allvin and Jim Rutherford in Vancouver going to do with Quinn Hughes? Because you do have three choices. You ride it out and you hope for the best for the rest of this year and the rest of Quinn Hughes' contract. You seek his permission to trade him somewhere else to get the return you want and have him play it out there. Or you just do this now and get it done and trade him to New Jersey. I had suggested the fantasy trade of Dawson Mercer, a first-round pick, Simone Nemec, and Dougie Hamilton, and does that get it done? And I don't know if it does. It does seem like that what the Canucks want out of this is a Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt type of player. I can't see the Devils doing that. But Quinn Hughes' future, and now he's, in theory, about to play with at least Jack, maybe at the Olympics. This is a major topic of conversation because there are three forks diverging in Yellowwood here, and what are the Canucks going to do about it?
The Canucks situation is interesting in that, they were kind of forced into that JT Miller trade last year. I mean, they kind of had to take Hedl. They didn't have many other options. They felt like they had to do it. And obviously Hedl's had injury problems, hasn't really been contributing. And now they are where they are, which big picture for a team that's been in that mushy middle maybe is a good thing. You'll look back and saying, well, it was good that they had a struggle this season. Maybe they get a franchise player in the draft. But with the decisions that they're making moving forward, I mean, to trade Quinn Hughes, use your fork in the road, it is a clear move in a direction of a rebuild for the Vancouver Canucks. And, it's interesting you mentioned Dougie Hamilton, and I'm not sure whether that is sort of a salary thing or whether that's kind of what they have to do. Because let's face it, Vancouver, if they're going to go in this direction, will be looking for good young players that might not necessarily be game breakers right now today, but people that they can imagine being a big part of their core for 5-6 years moving forward. And of course, draft capital in this year's draft, something very important for a team like Vancouver and other teams in their situation.
And yeah, and then that's why if it's Jersey, you ask for Jesper Bratt, who's a young player, who's a 30, 40 goal scorer. I think Dawson Mercer is that guy. He's 24 years old. I think Simon Nemec is 21 or 22 years old. They're in that sort of age range. But that's sort of the debate that I think is happening in the Vancouver front office right now is, do the Devils give the amount of players to make this deal worth it? Or do you have to try to, if you're going to make this move, if you made the decision that Quinn Hughes, that this breakup is happening, do you look to another team with more assets in that range of the 18 to 23-year-old players and the picks to make it worth it? I'm thinking of a team like the Washington Capitals, where do you trade a Ryan Leonard? Do you trade some of these young Ivan Miroshnichenko sort of players where they do have young talent with upside who may be the future, but you're trying to win immediately right now when Alex Ovechkin's possibly final season with this team already built? And who cares about picks and prospects? Like, if your window is a year or 2 years, you're giving up any of that you need to get a Quinn Hughes who's a game-breaking player. And the other thing is, Quinn Hughes has a no-move clause. He can do whatever he wants, right? Quinn Hughes can say, I don't want to go anywhere yet, or I only want to go to New Jersey. Quinn Hughes has control over this situation of where he wants to go, and really, he's the one has all the advantage here.
He's got a year after this on his contract. So if you're trading for Quinn Hughes, you're getting him for 2 playoff runs. We all think of the brothers story, and that's why New Jersey is the obvious, logical number one option. But do you think Quinn would be open to potentially another move to a team in the East? It doesn't sound very fun around Vancouver right now. I'm kind of thinking that he might be open to that. Jersey would be his first choice, but we've heard Philly, we've heard Detroit. Are there other teams that you think are realistic landing spots for Quinn Hughes that could be in the mix that may help Vancouver get the return they're looking for?
And let me correct something real quick. He doesn't have a no-move clause in this contract because they bought out the RFA years. So he doesn't have as much say on this. But if you're also a team acquiring him, you've got to know whether you're going to be able to extend him after this. So to your point of where Quinn Hughes would go here, if you're the Flyers, the Red Wings, the Capitals, some of these other teams sort of in the ether of this conversation is, are you renting Quinn Hughes for a year and a half? Or do you have a confidence that you could convince him to stay? And what's the asset difference in that? Because I think if you're and then this is also a trade that may be complicated enough that it has to wait till the offseason. That the Canucks have to ride this out, the Devils have to ride this out. But if you're Tom Fitzgerald in New Jersey, for example, wouldn't you rather pay a little bit more to give a shot at your team winning the Stanley Cup this year? Do you think Quinn Hughes puts you in I can contend for the Stanley Cup now? Or do you wait till the summer? Do you wait an additional summer and pay nothing? And then you've got Quinn Hughes and Simon Nemec and Dawson Mercer and Jesper Bratt and all these teams. And I'm pretty sure Quinn Hughes wants to play with Jack and Luke. This is not a rumor that is unfounded in any way. But if Quinn Hughes decides, hey, maybe I'd rather just live down the street from my brothers and go play for Philly or go play for the Rangers or go play for the Islanders or whatever, or go play for the Kings and do something entirely different, then do you want to, if you're the Devils, are you trading for those assets now? or are you playing the field hoping that July 1st of 2027, you've got Quinn Hughes signing on a 7-year contract?
Yeah, the one dangerous thing, and I mean, we've seen this happen over and over again, players just aren't getting to free agency.
No.
Teams are opening up the wallet and getting these assets signed. And then if something happens down the road, they deal with it. But I do think Jersey would be, it would be a really cool story too. I mean, if those guys went pay together.
It really does.
It does. Listen, a bunch of at least 2 of the Hughes brothers, presuming Jack gets back, are scheduled to be Olympians. We had the Gary Bettman and Bill Daly show here in the Peg earlier this week talking about the outdoor game next year, but also getting into the Olympics. Stephen, I know you're talking to people inside the league and around hockey on a daily basis. Where's the concernometer about the ability to drop the puck on the Olympic Games as scheduled and planned with everything we're hearing about the venue?
Well, we're in 2025 right now, right? So we're 2 months away from the Olympics. I was in Gary Bettman's office, I want to say roughly 2+ years ago, when he made the comment to me that they're concerned about the Olympic venues. He was concerned then. And we know for everything Gary Bettman is, he's a planner and thinks far ahead on some of these things. And he was worried that long ago. And if the concern of 100 is like the federation should be figuring out other rosters, and zero is they're definitely going, it's over 50 at this point. I mean, it has to be. It's got to get done because there's no other plan for it to get done. The question is, are the players, is the PA or in the league going to go into that arena and say, we're not playing on this ice? That they feel like the ice is unsafe to play on. The building's going to get done in some way or another because there's no choice. There's going to be a men's hockey tournament played at the Milan Olympics, at Santa Giulia Arena, at the arena in Rowan in the outskirts. One of those arenas is done. It's the smaller rink. But is the ice safety, is the shorter, slightly shorter rink. There was also it played in Beijing, by the way, was a slightly shorter rink with the ice conditions the way they're doing it up to NHL specs. And if the league and the PA go into that arena in January and say, we're not doing this, that's the biggest risk. The building itself will eventually get done. I was in Sochi when they were still working on the apartment complexes and the hotels and stuff when we arrived. So this is nothing new for Olympics. It went down to the wire and turn in 2006. This has happened before, but to me, the biggest concern right now in the immediacy is, are these players going to be playing on a safe ice surface? Because if the players themselves, who have wanted this for years and years and expect to go, say, we're worried about risking our careers, our seasons, injuries on this, that is where my concern level is over that 50% barrier.
There's got to be a backup plan, right?
There's no backup plan. There's zero backup plan.
I mean, so like worst case scenario, they don't feel that it's right. They're just going to break for 3 weeks, the plan, and not have this best on best tournament that we've been waiting for more than a decade.
I think it'll be like 28 and it'll be like 2022, where the NHL pulled out right around Christmas in 2021. And all the federations, I was talking to Jari Lehtinen and the Finland GM last week. He said, we had our team picked out. And then the NHL pulled out because, remember, all those games in Canada were getting postponed and canceled because of the pandemic restrictions there, that the league was like, we can't fit this in. And they sort of moved a bunch of games into that break. I would imagine the NHL would try to take a lot of those games from April. Like, you can't do another tournament. It's too late for that. But I wonder if they try to, and arena conflicts are going to be a huge issue for this, try to fold some of those late April games into that February window, move the start of the playoffs up, and just try to make do with what you can. Maybe you can throw an all-star weekend at the last minute, but probably not. And then the federations, Sweden, Finland, the US, Canada, have to go to the college ranks, to the players, the pros playing in Europe, and piece it together just like they did 4 years ago at this time, which I covered those Olympics too. And it wasn't the same, obviously, but it was still professional hockey players playing for a gold medal at the Olympics in 2018 and 2022. And I imagine that's the doomsday scenario, right? That after all this anticipation of finally being able to see this, we don't actually see it.
I mean, would this decision be made with the teams there? I mean, are we going to be waiting right up until the beginning of the tournament to know that it's for sure happening?
I don't think, I think once the planes go and the players are in Milan, that we know this is going to happen, but it's literally one of those, like Jack Eichel said in 2017, when we thought that, or sorry, in 2021, I'll believe it when I see it. When those planes touch down and those guys are on the ice in Milan is when I'll believe it. But to have teams and rosters and whatever together, there has to be a deadline. And they're talking about these test events at this arena in January. You have to think the league's going to have, and league's got 2 outdoor games to have Derek King, their ice specialist, Dean Matsuzaka and Steve Mayer and their events people sort of paying attention to over here. But you have to imagine they're going to have multiple flights over to Milan to be looking at this the entire month of January with members of the Players Association, Ron Hainsey and Marty Walsh, to inspect this, because they have to feel good about the safety of the arena to be able to play this tournament. I'm with Bill Daly. I'm cautiously optimistic, but every day this goes by without sort of a resolution of, yeah, we feel good about it, got to make you worry.
Yeah, I mean, like, from what my understanding is, there's still a bunch of stuff on the floor of the arena. Like, they haven't even been able to begin to make ice. The boards aren't moored in that. And so, I mean, like, when that happens, I guess, is anybody's guess. And how long does it take to get up to how it's going to be playing? When does that get okayed? There's just so much. Could they not just get everybody on the plane and say, you're going to Helsinki or Stockholm or something like that? Hey, they did the London Olympics, had the surfing in somewhere halfway around the world because they don't have surfing. Like, they put so much into this. If that rink wasn't, there's just no other option for NHL participation.
I think there was a possibility 6 months to a year ago that if they would have said, we're not going to build a new rink, let's play that in Turin instead. That was possible at the time. It's no longer possible. It is either they're playing a tournament there. It's whether the NHL players are involved in it is the question at this point.
Well, I know, always great having you on the show, pal. Have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tomorrow night. We'll catch up soon.
You too. Enjoy the Capitals.
All right, good stuff with Whyno. Again, 6 o'clock tomorrow. Puck drop, Jets and Caps. And Connor and Liz will be with you Sunday morning, 9 a.m. for WST Sunday Live for a full breakdown of the game and a look ahead to the Sens visit to finish up this road trip on Monday night. We are going to get to a little NFL notebook with Hacksaw. Marbles is open. If you're with us right now, exclamation mark Marbles in the chat. And we'll get to that in just a few minutes. But Remo, just before we bring in Hacksaw, let's fire up the weekly NFL Chud's Power Sports Power Poll with the top 5 teams in the NFL. It is brought to you by our friends at Chud's Power Sports, Manitoba's premier and legendary power sports superstore, where everything you need to dominate winter's waiting for you. ATVs, UTVs, RVs and ice houses, Argos and Sasquatch vehicles, and of course, great deals right now before the season truly begins on Polaris and Arctic Cat snowmobiles. This is the gift that guarantees excitement right now at the Christmas season. Check them out, chudspowersports.com. Great clearance deals as well at truenorthparts.com. And of course, online or up in person, our friends up in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. All right, the Rams stay on top of the power poll. We gave them a mulligan for that loss to the Panthers. I still think that they are the best team. Certainly the odds makers agree. They are the Super Bowl favorite right now. They are 10-3. I think the strength of this league right now is really moved to the NFC. The Green Bay Packers, now on the top of the NFC North, come in at number 2, 9-3-1 after their big win over the Chicago Bears last week. And I'm staying in the NFC for the third team. It's the Seattle Seahawks, also 10-3 in a wild card on account of not having the tiebreaker against the LA Rams. The New England Patriots are tied with Denver for the best record in the league. Both teams have played very soft schedules. They have the road win in Buffalo. They get the Bills this week. We'll talk about that game in a minute with Hacksaw. But we give the Patriots the number 4 spot. And I know there'll be some Bronco fans that are not happy, but I still don't really believe in the Broncos. Give me Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Impressive win up against it last week against Cincinnati. This has to be the Bills' season, right? I mean, if Mahomes and the Chiefs aren't in the playoffs and the Ravens are where the Ravens are right now, this has got to be Buffalo's year, right? Well, they're on the Chud Sports Power Poll today. We'll see whether they can beat the Patriots on the weekend and stay on there. Weekly Power Polls brought to you by Chud's Power Sports. And we'll have a fun one from Connor and Liss on Sunday morning with the Sunday edition of the Chud Sports Power Poll on WST Sunday Live. Let's bring in the man himself, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton. Go to leehacksawhamilton.com. Make sure to sign up for his newsletter and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Saw, what's going on? How are you?
Boy, there are not enough hours in the day to cover everything you're covering north of the border. Most of that's hockey-driven. And everything I'm covering down here, this side of the border, all things NFL, baseball winter meetings just completed, the chaos of the NBA, and what hockey I'm covering down here, and college football firing. So it's just not a lot of hours in the day. But in making reference to your poll, my favorite phrase as a sports talk show host, and you and I have done this forever, my favorite phrase, I told you so. I told you so last week. The Rams needed to be atop your poll, and they're now. You're a week late, but that's okay.
No. I'm not a week late. They were there. I gave them a mulligan for that. They were on before they lost to Carolina, and I didn't have a good team to take over, so they went in there, and they obviously smashed last week. Hey, just before we dive into this, Lou, you mentioned the college stuff. We don't normally get into this. Have you been following this situation out of the University of Michigan with the coach Moore being fired and everything going on? This is one of the most college football has had some salacious incidents involving head coaches at big-time programs, but this one is wild right now, and it seems like the fallout's just beginning.
It's deep, it's dark, it's sad, it's troubling. The fact that he threatened to kill himself in front of his mistress, the fact that he fled, the fact they found him in a church parking lot, the fact that the University of Michigan was tipped off, and that the woman, a staffer who had this relationship with a married man, father of 3 daughters, turned over the evidence to the University of Michigan, which led to immediate firing of the coach. It's really sad. Once upon a time, when we look at the people in Ann Arbor, and I cover this stuff a lot this side of the border, we use the term Michigan man. Well, look at what's happened to that program. Not just under Sharon Moore. Look what happened under the prior coach, Jim Harbaugh. All the NCAA violations and the junk even before that with computers and Spygate and doctors. And it's just dark. University has hired a Washington, D.C. law firm to come in and do a complete evaluation top to bottom of the entire athletic department. I think there's going to be wholesale house cleaning at Michigan, at least with the athletic director and on the football side of the operation. But this is sad. But it's obvious that this person, this coach, had some really dark, deep, emotional, traumatic problems. And the fact he was found in a church parking lot before he killed himself, it's sad, it's scary. And I guess it proves the point. We just don't know about what we just don't know about other people's lives.
Yeah, it's, just a wild story. And I mean, for one of the top programs, not too far off from winning a national championship, wanted to get your thoughts on that. That's sort of a dark story. It turned dark for the Indianapolis Colts this year after that great start to the season. But maybe the most fun story this week, Phillip Rivers is back in the National Football League. Lee, what was your immediate reaction to seeing those reports? And could we actually see Phillip behind center this weekend in Seattle?
Well, my first response from my heart was, Rivers, really? ? But I know him. I was a voice of the Chargers for a long time, and I covered him a great deal here before the franchise went to Los Angeles. He's a hell of a guy. He's a superb person. He's a great player. I think he's a greater person than he was as a player, and he's probably a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback. The unique aspect of the story behind the story, nobody's really talked about this. In October, when Indianapolis lost Anthony Richardson, the number 1 draft pick, with another injury, and Daniel Jones had to be the starter. When that happened, Shane Steichen called Rivers at his home in Alabama, and Phillip's been a high school coach for 4 years, and said, if we get into a crunch, would you ever consider doing this, coming back? In October, that's when the first phone call was made, and Phillip said, yeah, I'd consider it. Steichen said, well, Daniel Jones is going to be my starter. But if you want to start preparing yourself for another phone call, do it. So from October into December, Phillip Rivers did all the cardiovascular stuff on his own time, aside from being a high school coach of a great program. So he's physically ahead of the curve in terms of being able to get back on the field. He walks into the meeting room in Indianapolis, and they give him the playbook, as big as a phone directory. And it's the exact same playbook with the exact same terminology they had when Steichen was the quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator with the San Diego Chargers during Rivers' final group of years. So this is not like bringing a guy off the street. This is a guy who's probably in better shape than most unemployed quarterbacks and a guy that knows the playbook in and out. Is he ready to play? I don't think so at this point. Maybe a week from now. They're going into Seattle. They're going to have to protect the quarterback from Notre Dame, Riley Leonard. They're going to run the damn ball with Jonathan Taylor and try to shorten that ball game. But Seattle does play really well at home. So it's fascinating. Can Rivers carry them in the playoffs? I think that's a long shot, but he's ahead of the curve. And like I say, I've known him a long time. He's a special individual. So I would not put it past him that he could do this. He could do it better than, quote, Cam Newton or David Carr, the guys like that. So that's where we are.
Yeah, I'm here for it. It'd be kind of a fun story to pay attention to. And listen, Indy has had such a great start. They've lost 3 in a row now, and they're really up against it with the way the Jags have played, and now the Texans, who have re-entered the playoff picture after their big win over the Chiefs last week, pretty much ending the Chiefs' hopes. Just before we talk about the games on the docket, TJ Watt emergency surgery. That's a huge hit for the Steelers right now, coming off their big win to regain first in the North.
It's such a physical, tough, violent game, and you go through a lot of treatment. And once you get dinged, it's really hard to get back to 100% healthy. He was undergoing something akin to acupuncture treatment in the Steeler medical facility, and somehow this needle they used for some form of acupuncture in his ribcage area penetrated the lung, and he had a problem. So he went into the hospital, and they did an emergency surgery last night. I don't know that he can play this week. I would assume he'll be back a week from now. They had to reinflate the lung, but it was nothing done wrong. It was the accidental location of the needle and where it penetrated the skin, and it nicked the lung. But he'll be okay probably within a week, but I don't see any way he gets on the field right now. And I hate needles. I heard that story, and I got, oh, no.
Saul, let's get to the games this weekend before we break. The Patriots, if you told me that they were going to be a lot better with Mike Vrabel, I would have bought in big time. If you told me that they would be 11-2, having a win in Buffalo already and be hosting the Bills to put the wrapping on the AFC East, I would have said, yeah, maybe in a year or two. And yet here we are. Bills, Patriots, basically a pick 'em. I think the Bills are like a 1-point favorite. What a way to start off a pretty nice lineup. There's some massive favorites, games that people won't pay attention to, but some other huge ones, including some of the top teams in the league going head-to-head.
Well, I'll run through the roadmap for you quickly here. New England, this is impressive. 10 wins in a row. What a great second year Drake May has had. He's got a quarterback rating, get this, of 111 as a second-year quarterback. Now, Josh Allen's rolling in there, and that offense is cooking 383 yards per game. But, Buffalo has been a little schizo because of injuries on defense. They got road losses at Atlanta, at Miami when Miami was bad, and at Houston when Houston was bad. So at this point, they've been a little inconsistent. But they're complete, and Josh Allen's carrying them, just like Drake May is carrying them. I think it's going to be a good game. The one thing, and I hate to say this because it'll offend somebody with New England ties, they haven't played anybody. You look at they got 8 games on their schedule against the have-nots in the NFL that for the most part they all won. So that's one of the reasons they're sitting there at 11-2. I'm not going to take anything away from what New England's accomplished. That's going to be a great game. Detroit Rams, NFC, huge game. This is not the same Detroit Lions team we've seen under Dan Campbell. Hustler, they're 4-4 in their last 8, and they're really nicked up in the offensive front, and they're nicked up in the defensive front. That being said, Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, St. Brown, That's a really vibrant offense they still have. They're putting up phenomenal offensive numbers in Detroit. But the Rams at home, Matthew Stafford, here to old guys, 35 touchdowns and 4 interceptions on the season, despite the weird loss a week ago in Carolina. I mean, they are really cooking. Stafford at age 37, he's got a quarterback rating of 113. This is going to be a huge game. This kind of feels like a playoff Sunday to me. You got Green Bay, Denver. What a great season Jordan Love's had. He walks in there. Now, the Packers play 3 of the next 4 on the road. This is going to be a tough uphill climb for Green Bay to finish where they are. Love's got 22 touchdowns and 4 picks. But how about the Broncos? They've won 10 straight. Bo Nix has stopped turning the football over. And that defense has 55 sacks. And the defense in 13 games, that defense, the Orange Crush, has given up 21 touchdowns in 13 games this season. So Green Bay may have a really rugged afternoon, the Mile High. And the final game, which is huge, this is desperation time. But who else in the world would you want leading your club? Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. These 2 quarterbacks are every facet you want in a leader. We're talking about great talents. We're talking about gifted guys. We're talking about strong arms. Talk about gutsy, ballsy guys making all types of plays. Herbert's second on the Chargers running the football. Mahomes leads Kansas City running the football. They've both put up massive numbers in all-purpose yards and touchdowns. This is going to be a great game, but they both desperately need the win. And, Kansas City's been so hot and cold, and Andy Reid cost his team a victory last week with some stupid play calling. I don't want to give you a heartburn, but I saw that, almost came out of my chair, and I don't come out of my chair very often, watching games on a 4th and 1 call when they had all the momentum and they let it get away from them deep in their own territory.
The most reckless call I've ever seen from Andy Reid.
Yeah, I mean, stupid. Just that, and he admitted, stupid. Of course, the guy in Cleveland does some stupid stuff too, which kind of took away potential victory from all things Shedeur Sanders. So at the end of the day, Kansas City Chargers, it's a desperation game. They both need it. And it's tough for the Chargers because they beat the Eagles, but they got to play Kansas City, Dallas, Houston, and finish up in Denver. So their next 4 for Justin Herbert going to be hard. And obviously Kansas City and Mahomes probably have to run the table, but I have such great regard for these 2 quarterbacks this game. And by the way, just full disclosure, I don't care what the hell you're wearing, but voice of the Chargers, I still have an emotional tie to that franchise.
The Bolts. I mean, I haven't put my Chief stuff away, but I tell you what, my nemesis, the loser Eagles, I need them to win one damn game, Lee. And they had so many opportunities to do it and just threw up all over themselves repeatedly, losing a very winnable game to an injured quarterback. I mean, I'm impressed with what Herbert was able to do, but man, the plight of the Eagles, we saw. I'll leave you with this. I saw online yesterday that in Finland, one of the soccer teams that, has a pretty rich history lost and got relegated to, I guess, the 2nd division.
Burned the stadium.
The fans were so mad. Yeah, they burnt the stadium. And it got me thinking that if the Philadelphia Eagles lose at home to the Raiders tomorrow, we might see Eagles fans try and do the same. It is that bad, the city of brotherly love right now, despite their 8 wins.
Happen. Although Sirianni has let this thing get away from him, he needs to retake control of play calls. I mean, I was shocked at how poorly their offensive front played, but their front has got a lot of injuries. Mm-hmm. I was shocked that they did not try to roll out Hurts away from the Charger pass rush. And I was shocked at the inconsistency, the drop balls, the deflections, the stupidity of some of the stuff that the Eagle wide receivers did, and then stunned beyond belief that Hurts kept throwing balls in the types of coverages that he should never have thrown it. Sirianni's got to put that oil fire out. They've lost 3 in a row. That is really hard to believe that a team with that kind of talent would lose 3 in a row. But, strange things happen to teams, and injuries derail teams. And they just got a mess of injuries in the offensive front in front of that quarterback.
LeeHacksawHamilton.com, folks, get on over there, sign up for the newsletter, and make sure to sub to the YouTube channel as well. So enjoy the action. Going to be a great weekend in the National Football League. We'll talk to you next week.
Hey, listen, 1919's to you. And by the way, speaking of oil fires, would you please put out the oil fire with your Winnipeg Jets? Because I don't quite understand it. And two big things today north of the border on the Great White North. It stopped snowing in Edmonton, and they traded Stuart Skinner away. So you got a lot of stuff to talk about because I've been paying attention to it too.
Have a great one, pal. There he is,
Thanks, pal.
the legend himself, Lee Hacksaw Hamilton, with today's NFL Notebook. All right, wrapping up marbles. If you just popped in a little late, you've got a minute to throw in exclamation mark marbles into the chat while Remis prepares the marble festivities for today. Let's take a look at the Cool Bet lines for today. By the way, thanks to everyone that joined us for the poker tourney on Wednesday. Awesome event. The top four, which did include myself, thank you very much. Eagle Eyes, Machine Blank, and Beelzebubba all qualified for the Costa Rica trip final on the 12th of January. Because I was in the top four and I'm already going, the fifth place finisher, which, by the way, if you're here, PVP, Jets. That was the poker handle over at CoolBet. Check your tickets because they have manually put a ticket for the final into your account, but you're going to have to manually log in and enter that. 2 more chances to qualify. Coming up on Wednesday, January 7th is the final chance. But before that, Monday, December 22nd. So a week Monday, we'll do another tourney at 8 o'clock. And again, this is working a little differently than the others because of the way that it's set up for the Costa Rica tickets. But if you get into the top 4, the tournament ends at that point. So essentially what happened was the money for the top 4 was basically split. So the goal is to be a top 4, get your ticket to the final, and then the people that were top 4 all had the value of the ticket to the final, which was 240 Canadian added in. So we all got a nice bonus for lasting. Next chance to do that, Monday, December 22nd. Tell your friends, check our socials for more details. And good luck in qualifying for the final to join myself and Jeff Hamilton down at the Costa Rica Poker Open. 2 hockey games tonight. Blackhawks in St. Louis to take on the Blues. Blues got wrecked in Nashville last night. They're a slight home favorite at -115. Blackhawks -102. And then the Kraken are in Utah to take on the struggling Mammoth. Remember at the start of the season when the Mammoth and the Jets were both playing really well and in playoff spots? They're both a game under 500 right now. Utah -182. Kraken +153. We just hit all those NFL games. The big ones this week, Ravens 2.5-point faves in Cincy. Chargers Chiefs. Chiefs are 5-point favorites at Arrowhead. The Bills 1-point road favorites in New England in that big matchup for the at the top of the AFC East. Packers Broncos in Denver. Green Bay 2-point favorites. I do like the Pack in that one. The Rams are 5.5-point favorites over the Lions. And the Panthers. Well, my God, we didn't even get to that loss last night by Tampa. Atlanta had 19 penalties and still won the game. A walk-off field goal, 29-28. And the Panthers, if Carolina wins this game on the weekend against the Saints, they will be able to clinch the NFC South with a win at home against the Buccaneers in Week 16. Just a crazy turnaround in that division from where things were about 6 or 7 weeks ago. Vikings and Cowboys going at it in Dallas. Cowboys 5.5-point faves. And the Monday Nighter, Pittsburgh, without TJ Watt, as we mentioned, 3-point favorites at home against the Miami Dolphins. Now, we did do a full episode of WST Winners this morning, myself, Pat, and Jake, with our picks. Check it out on the YouTube channel for all of it. But we do have a couple of our parlays cooked up. Our touchdown parlay this week, Travion Henderson for the Patriots, George Kittle for the Niners, and a bounce-back week for George Pickens. That's boosted just about to 10-1, from +860 to +987. And our spread parlay is basically 6-1, boosted from plus 515 to 598. Seahawks minus 13.5. Packers to win. Detroit plus 6.5. That one is plus 598. And if you go over to the exclusives, check out the WST parlay there. This is our prop one. We cashed this one last week. 6-1. Jordan Love, 225 plus passing yards. Darius Slayton, long reception, 19 or more yards. And James Cook, 16 or more receiving yards, plus 600. If you haven't played a cool bet before, use the promo code WST for a 100% bonus on your first deposit up to $200. And don't forget about the poker tourneys and the opportunity for that Costa Rica trip, December 22nd, and the last chance qualifier, January 7th. All right, Remo, it is time to finish off a week that has been trying for many Jet fans with the glory of the marble race. Without further ado, why don't we fire up a little Tristan Rivers music, intro song, and then get ready for the marbles festivities here on WST.
Time for the whole weekend with no one even on the line. Zero effort left to give except a 245. One more time, it's time to do a marble race. No skill separating best to worst. Marble race, just type marbles with the punctuation first. Marble race, don't spam unless it's Oleg's victory lap. Marble race,
I'll allow it.
Get to your bar, then that's a wrap. Ho, ho, ho.
Just kidding, that's lame. But we were all thinking that.
Set, go.
Love it. Love it. The Christmas version of the Marbles theme by the one and only Tristan Rivers Music. Shout out to Candace as well for the video accompaniment. Remo, we need this. We need this marble race. We need some positive vibes from the marbles heading into the weekend because it has been a tough week on WST following the Winnipeg Jets. What are you cooking up for us today?
I found a pretty good track actually, and yeah, it's been nice hanging out with everyone today. We've got a lot of people here. That's fun. We had Gary Bettman's visit. Exciting, the CFL schedule, but 3 Jets losses. This was their chance to come home, make some hay in the Western Conference Central Division. Hasn't quite happened. We will have Nino Niederreiter's 1,000th game. Maybe we should throw him in.
Yeah, you know what? Nino 1,000 in it. And then throw me in all caps, please, as well.
But yeah, and we did have that hockey trade. That was fun. I gotta be honest, like I didn't think that was an upgrade for Edmonton, and they traded away a lot. But maybe it'll pay off. Maybe they shuffle it around. It'll work out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it was just, and I feel bad for Stuart Skinner. He's an Edmonton guy. I mean, got them to 2 straight Cup finals. But when it's bad for him, it's really bad, and the expectations are so high. But they did get, will you get this thing up? I just want to check this out. So Jerry is now on their team. He's got 2 more years at $5.375 million. And I mean, that's why he was waived last year and successfully cleared waivers. But again, they had to move a bunch of cap. They got rid of Kulak to Pittsburgh, and then they picked up Spencer Stastny at just $825K from the Predators for a 3rd round pick. So yeah, interesting deal today made by the Oilers. And I know the boys on EST have been going all day long with live trade coverage.
Brett
now that the deal has been done.
Kulak was really good for them in the playoffs, wasn't he? I think that's one of their few guys that can actually play defense.
Their idea is that he'll be replaced by Spencer Stastny, and they'll be good. But I mean, they had to move, a contract. I mean, they had absolutely no cap space, even with McDavid just making the 12.5. So, anyways, let's do it. What's our track?
I searched the tracks. I found one. I think it's an exciting one. Oh man, I can't even read this. I can't read my own writing. You ever do that? Potential record competition.
All right. Potential record competition is today's marble race track. How many in the hopper today?
250.
Woo! All right.
250. So
nicely done. By the way, if you want to go to the Moose game on Sunday, we have a giveaway. There's a link in the chat right now, but there's a giveaway on the website, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. If you want to go to the Moose game on Sunday afternoon, Moose in action tonight. Maybe some of you should go there. Scouting reports. Who do we call up? Who should be playing right now? I have a feeling that's not going to be a bad thing for the Moose. To be honest, of guys knowing that, maybe there could be a call-up, not due to injury, but due to need some fresh blood in the lineup. We'll see whether that happens. Anyways, let's do this race.
Let me do it. Hold on. I tried to load. It wouldn't load the secondary tracks. Hold on. Let me try this one more time.
Thank you, Duck Dad. # justice for the lock shop. Adam Trower, what's going on with the lock shop? We got preempted today. So they can talk about Tristan Jarry and Spencer Stastny from every angle of the deals. Yeah, the boys at EST are all over it. I'm sure we'll jump over and say hi to Hernan and Gager afterwards. Yes, Tyson D. Huss got bumped for Jerry. I was locked and loaded and ready to go. That's why. So if you do want the NFL picks, check out WST Winners, myself and Jake going through all of ours. I've added one more selection and sent them to Dusty. He will tweet out our top 5 picks for the festivities on the weekend coming up. I am looking forward to the NFL this weekend. It's kind of freeing having the Chiefs being basically out. I think I'm throwing my support behind the Panthers. My guy Carolina Mike. If I had $150,000, I just want to sing that song. I want to see them in the playoffs. I want to see Carolina Mike get one of the unexpected stars of the NFL season.
Okay, it's not loading the other track, so we'll just have to pick a regular track. I don't know what's going on.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we can still do tracks, but I had one picked out. So I'm going to have to go think of which ones of these are good. Rusty Remnant, is that a good one? We did Slippery Slopes. I'm trying to think if there's other.
We have done that recently.
We just did that one. It's a good one.
Temple of Steve.
Temple of Steve's a classic.
That has the crazy ending where you're not in until you're in. It's like 50% of getting whacked at the end. Why don't we go with the Rusty Remnant? I remember that name, but I don't even know what we're doing. It's the same for everyone. It's just one of the many tracks we've got.
Yeah, I'm good with Rusty. I think Rusty Remnant's good, if I recall.
Rusty Remnants. Oh, Running Man, waiting for Remis to let me know when to pick up hoodie. That's actually on me. I think I owe a couple people emails. If you sent it in, just whatever, send another one to winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. I'll fire you guys something afterwards. The show today. I know Haldy came and picked his up. Maybe it was Running Man, the one that I had. Regardless, if you haven't picked one up and you won one, let us know, and hopefully we'll have your size.
Yeah.
Remo faking technical difficulties to stall a little longer is a veteran move.
I gotta get all my hot takes in. NFL, Panthers, man. Like, are they good? We still don't even know.
No.
No, but they could win the division.
That entire division is a disaster. It's your boy Bruce. Just grabbed the Bombers CC bottle. Might need to crack it open ASAP. Yeah, I hear you, dude. I hear you. Hopefully it'll be a much better game tomorrow night. Just if for no other reason for our friend Nino Niederreiter. All right, we had to pivot. It's the Rusty Remnant. 250 in the hopper. Good luck to all. We've got a WST hoodie, courtesy of our friends at Shipman Associates, for the winner of today's race. Remo, let her rip. Waiters, yeah, I didn't realize how good Jacksonville is. I'm still not convinced about the Jags, but they keep winning. I mean, that division now has Jacksonville, Houston, and Indy. Probably not going to be Indy in it at the end. The real Spency in first place. I love it. Derek Schmidt with a nice start. Who else is here? Dave McLean looking good. Dave McLean now in first. Jesse P, 33 in second. I see Ray OG in the mix. Tristan Rivers Music as well. Hope Tristan is Tristan. What do you got? Some holiday shows coming up? Throw them in the chat. I would like to get some people together and come and watch you guys rock out. Dave McLean in first, Jesse P, Ray OG, Rob Pepper, Tristan Rivers Music, Rob Mahoney now in the mix. I see Donnie Boy in the back. Ray is first into this orb. Rob Mahoney right behind. Rob Pepper now. Arlowen. Who's coming out first? Now we're starting to get a few knockouts here. But Dave McLean, Rob Pepper, Doug McFadzean, and Ray OG all right there in the mix. Dave McLean, though, in first place. It does feel like this is Dave's to lose. Will it be lost or will it be won? There's still quite a bit of track left. Doug McFadzean is in second place, and here comes Jesse P and R. Lowen, 33. I see my guy, speaking of lock shoppers, Mark Amp. What up, Mark Amp Yoga? Mark was in the tourney. Good luck on the next opportunity to get in on that one, Mark. We'll have a good time down in Costa Rica if you can make it. All right, Dave McLean still in first. And I would say maybe even extending his lead a little bit in the Rusty Remnant. Cupid, Arlo, and Peg City Scott as well over on the other side. Now, very nice move by Arlowen. It's getting a little tighter right now. Dave McLean's now in, but will he be slowed up by some of these obstacles right here? Okay, it's getting close. We've got Arlowen, Doug McFadzean, Dave McLean.
Oh,
all right there. Okay, here we go. It's a 3-horse race. Anyone can win right now between Rick, Doug, and Dave. Arlowen is in first place. No, Dave McLean is in first. And Dave wins. Heck of a finish today between a very tight top three. Dave J. McLean, our winner today. Arlowen in second. Doug McFadzean, third. Alan Hayes, fourth. Cupid, fifth. Lisa Foster, sixth. Key, seven. Boring Sean Monahan, eighth. Frosty Winnipeg, ninth. And K, 9543, the winner. By the way, Reem, do we know if we're going to be able to get it back to the way it used to be in the chat with the actual names?
I haven't looked. I think this is what YouTube is now with the ats instead of the names. Isn't this what it is?
Well, that's what it is right now. I was hoping it could go back to what it was before.
Same with me. I like it. But...
Dave McLean, congratulations, Dave. Hit us up, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let me know what size you are. We'll get you a hookup. And as I say, if you want, we can probably work out pickup for people that are joining us next Wednesday at Boston Pizza for the holiday watch party for the Jets and the St. Louis Blues. I will tell you, Remo, I'm very glad we picked that game. It does seem like the Blues are one of the very few teams right now that I think you'd feel confident going up against. Although, who knows what the heck we're going to see over these next couple games. Here's the rest of the list as Remis goes through it all. There's Donnie Boy, Nino 1000, Mr. V-Dub. There's T-Will. Welcome back, T-Will. Royal Sports Payable. Hustler, 160. Not a good turnout for me today. V-Ball Coach Mike. And the final one. Geez, Running Man wins it and then is second last the next day. And then here's everyone that got whacked. It's your boy Bruce. Tough one. Oh, the 18 over par boys. What's going on? I don't want to start talking about golf too much in the middle of the hockey season, but we don't get a few wins and we'll be making tee times along with the Jets. But we move on. 30 games in the books. Games 13 through 30 have been a bit of a disaster, but you wake up tomorrow and there's another game, and it's Alex Ovechkin's lone visit of the year to Canada Life Center. Nino Niederreiter's 1,000th game. Hopefully that'll boost the vibe a little bit around the team. And as Mitch Clinton pointed out, Jets 3-0 in 1,000th games. Paul Stastny, Blake Wheeler, Sam Gagner, all celebrating 1,000 in Jet unis. The team's won every time. Maybe that can be a boost to a team that desperately needs it. And heck, who the hell knows? Maybe there'll be a Connor Hellebuyck appearance tomorrow. I'm thinking Monday, but I'm here for it tomorrow. Great show today, and great stuff all week, especially in the chat. Feeling the passion from you Jet fans. Make sure to pop in and check out Connor and Liz on Saturday morning, coming out of tomorrow night's game. And again, we'll start it off on a game day edition, prime game, Jets and Sens next Monday. So be sure to join us live at 1 p.m. if you're able to here on the YouTube broadcast. And of course, shout out to all of you podcast listeners that make it happen each and every day. Don't forget, hey, if you're looking for tickets for a Jet fan to come and join us, January 9th, Friday night, Kings is our next WST game. And that is the après-ski night where they're giving away the ski goggles, the first 5,000 fans. Of course, we do have early access, so if you do come early, should guarantee you some of those. WinnipegJets.com/WST might be a great Christmas gift for the fellow chatter or friend to come out and join us on that Friday night. But it's all about tomorrow. Caps, Jets, 6 p.m. tomorrow night. We'll look forward to seeing many of you at the game. Have an awesome weekend. Thanks for hanging out with us today. And we will see you Monday back here, 1 o'clock, live on YouTube on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Take it easy, gang.
Oh, my God. Oh! Shut it down. Let's go home.
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.